Hello and welcome to the Pokemon Go Cast episode 269 for the week of July 12th, 2016. We're here to talk about all your hot Pokemon Go tips for the week. We've been doing this for 7 years now, waiting for Pokemon Go to launch. It finally happened, so let's talk about that right now. Bryce, I know you caught a Rata 5 minutes ago. How's that making you feel? You liking it? You enjoying it?
He only had 10 CP. He was bullshit.
Yeah, bullshit. But you got to make sure you pop those lucky eggs and evolve your Rattata to I forget what the guy what is evolved into.
All day.
Sorry, hi guys. Hey, this is Comic Conspiracy. We're not just playing Pokemon Go while we're recording this podcast. I don't know what you're talking about.
There's three phones out on a table.
I've never played Pokemon.
One is open to Pokemon Go.
I've never played Pokemon Go before. I'm a grown adult with a job, and I don't have time for this.
And all of our batteries are dead.
Yeah, I don't have time for this game. No, this is the Comic Conspiracy.
Oh,
we can't talk about we can't talk about Pokemon like kid shit like Pokemon. We got to talk about adult stuff like comic books. Okay. The Comic Conspiracy. Episode 269 for the week of July 12th, 2016. My name's Ryan Higgins. Who's here with me this week?
Brock Sager.
Bryce. A.K.A.
Next person in line can say their name.
Bulbasaur.
Hey, it's Toby.
And Charlie.
Charlie, how's it going, everyone? We are going to talk about a number of things here. Our main topic this week is we're finishing up covering the last of the Marvel number ones.
Oh,
ironically, the day after all of Marvel's new number ones got leaked on the internet. So next week, we'll talk about all the upcoming Marvel number ones and their creative teams. And then when those come out, maybe we'll talk about some of those because I don't know. I don't know how many times we can keep doing this.
As many times as Marvel renumbers, apparently.
But that's going to be every other episode. We're going to never stop talking about Marvel number ones. Maybe that's why they're doing it. They're like, hey, we can get that Comic Conspiracy bump just by releasing more number ones because they're forced to talk about all these number ones. But no, before we do anything, I do have to say...
the Comic Conspiracy bump.
Yeah. I do have to say, we talked about it last week. Our store-exclusive variant cover for Harley Quinn number 1 by Mikhail Janin. The artwork is up. The pre-orders are up. The eBay store is down. But don't worry about that. That's coming back up there. They had to do some verification shit. We're getting that figured out. The art's incredible. It's actually going to be our picture this week, so you can go and check it out. Check it out on comicsconspiracy.biz. Very top post. You can see our pre-order page there. If you are local, you want to pick it up in store, you can do that. You can get it here at the store. No need to pre-order. We'll have plenty of copies. But you can reserve your copy. You can come down and give us your name. Tell me how many copies you want. We are doing some bundles, 5-pack, 10-pack. We're doing pre-screen CGC and CBCS copies, guaranteed 9.8, because we're going to send them off to get them pre-screened. It does take a couple months to get those back, but if you want a graded copy, those are available as well. They're very, very excited for this. The final artwork is just incredible. And we've got a really good reception. A bunch of sites have picked up on the cover and have run it. We've got a lot of pre-orders in already. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, but if you haven't, again, comicsconspiracy.biz, got a couple weeks before it ships. So we will update everyone as that goes on. We are going to go now. Before we get to Marvel, though, well, I mean, Marvel's a part of this, but not as much as usual. We do have to cover real quick the June 2016 comic book sales chart. We got the whole crew here. Why don't you guys start guessing some of the top 10 comics for 2016? I'll give you a hint. There's only 2 companies involved here, and I'll give you another hint. They're mostly not Marvel.
Was this during a Rebirth month?
June is when Rebirth started. We got our top.
How's that fucking news?
We got our top 300 comic list here. So
you have your first relaunch.
I'm just happy.
In over half a decade.
Yeah,
and and are you surprised that you actually? If Marvel actually, I'm filled with pride and with shame about Marvel launching new number ones on the heels of their old number one. I don't know what to think because Marvel's still better, but Jesus, we are literally we just had number ones come out, and
we're finishing up talking about all the new number ones.
Well, that's just because you're slow.
No, but some of these just came out.
Anyway, my point is you can be snarky all you want, but you guys relaunch every 5 years, and so of course it's going to have a bigger impact. Boom, go ahead. My first guess is Batman.
Batman, of course, is on there.
Dude, my fucking Furo flew away. Sorry.
Batman number 1 is the number 2 spot at 280,000 copies. Now, I will say that Batman number 1 did have store exclusive covers, so a couple, not as many as some other books, but it did have a handful. Also, I should also note that all the DC comics are decreased by 10% in sales because they are returnable. So these estimates are down. So there was probably about 300,000 copies of Batman. They do lower those numbers, the estimates, a bit
Due to the returnability.
due to the potential for returnability, but I guarantee you none of these are getting returned.
Oh,
So-
he guarantees none of them are getting returned.
No, none of them are.
Based
They're
on
all
current values, scalpers will buy them before
Yeah.
they have a chance to get returned.
Yeah, if any
Well, I
store
can guarantee you that Dr. Dre's Compton album was the worst hip hop album of 2015. So
if any store wants to return them, I will take your copies off your hands of any of these books because we'll sell them happily. And Batman Rebirth number 1, which was the one shot. What's the prelude to that was 199,807 copies. That's the number 3 spot. So yeah, some Batman on there.
So you can tell that the reaction to that caused people to bump FOC for.
No, so a lot of this stuff, only maybe Wonder Woman would have been
at least
FOC'd.
Would the DC Rebirth issue have come out before the FOC for Batman?
No.
Number 1.
Nope.
Huh.
That's what I'm saying. Is that only a couple at the very end did, and then even then, people weren't. Every retailer I talked to, people were still a little unsure of what they were going to do.
I'm just wondering why the Rebirth issue would have been fewer copies then.
Well, remember, Rebirth didn't have well, because of the store exclusive variant covers.
Okay.
And it's also Batman number 1. That's a little bit more than Batman
Rebirth.
one shot number 1. There is also Batman is a big book, but it's also the number 2 book. There is one book higher than it.
Spider-Man Deadpool.
No, not this month.
Are we going
Rebirth issue?
Well, you guys can guess whatever you want, but
The DC Rebirth?
no, that was May. Remember, technically
May.
shipped the last week of May.
we're in May. So Flash is on there.
Flash is not in the top 10.
Oh,
Even though it's
take
sold out?
that, DC.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Well, it's because nobody knew the full
this is
significance when
Right.
ordering.
Can you give us a hint of what the breakdown is, DC versus No, don't. Never mind. Don't do that. Okay, my guess is Detective Comics.
Detective Comics not in the top 10.
Is that because it's double shipped, so it's like watered down a little bit?
No, it's just the first issue of Detective Comics that was part of Rebirth. 934 was not in the top 10.
Superman number 1?
Superman is number 10. Superman number 1 is number 10, 105,000 copies.
You mean Superboy? That's what it deserves to be.
Well, I'm just having the fun of going, I wonder when the last time a Superman issue made the top 10.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Superman Unchained.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
it must
true.
be. It must
Yeah.
be. What is that Frank Miller book, The Dark Knight 3?
Dark Knight 3,
four?
number 5
Five.
was number 6 at 139,000 copies. Dark Knight Returns: The Last Crusade, which was the one shot, at a buck higher too, was 122,000 copies. So 6 and 7 number are right there in a row.
Wait,
Pretty
so
good.
maybe this isn't.
But we still don't have the number
maybe
1.
there's 3 companies. Maybe it's
Civil War.
Marvel, DC, and Batman. Maybe
yeah.
because I think that
Batman's Batman's the Star Wars to Marvel, but Batman's actually like probably twice. Batman sells 20% of DC sales.
But you won't hear fucking you and Brock, being
Brock-
so annoying about Batman as you are about Star Wars.
But Brock just called it Civil War 2, number 1. The number 1 comic at 381.
Wait, Civil War 2 number 1 was in June?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How long have I been gone?
It was like the first week of June.
I
and
just
that
read it yesterday.
was 381,000 copies. Civil War 2, number 1, of course, having
God, how many variants?
many covers and store exclusive covers. So we'll just call that.
Okay.
But no,
We get it,
fantastic
we get it.
numbers.
This guy's here for Pokemon Go.
Civil War 2, number 2, actually, so a little more.
The lure.
Civil War 2, number 2. Is actually the number 5 spot at 148,000. That's a little more accurate sales, I would
Can you
guess.
say it again? I'm sorry.
Civil War 2, number 2 is at 148,000 copies. So that's that's less than half of the number 1, but a little more probably in line with what I think the event will sell. Although number 3 got a big boost, which comes out tomorrow. Spoiler alert! Big.
Hey! I haven't read it yet.
So you got number 1, Civil War. You got number 2, Batman. You got number 3, Batman Rebirth. You got number 5, which is Civil War 2, 6 and 7, Dark Knight. 8 is Superman to Rebirth. 10 is Superman. You're missing Wait, Superman Rebirth. Wait, did I not say that? Yeah, Superman
you didn't
Rebirth
mention
is on there. Number 1 at 118,000. I don't know why that sold more than Superman number 1. A little confused about that.
What? Yeah, that was.
Yeah, Rebirth.
Well, actually, I won't say that wasn't as good. It was actually a Superman story as opposed to Superman number 1, which wasn't. But
Right. So you're missing number 4 and number 9.
well, they got to be a Marvel book. So you've only said
Number 4 is
DC
Marvel.
books.
Number 4 is Marvel. Number 9 is DC.
So Marvel only has 1 in the top 10.
They have 3. 2 Civil Wars and
okay,
this.
okay. Sorry.
and this book.
So do we just throw out the Star Wars stuff
Yeah.
now?
Star Wars.
You
Darth
could say
Vader.
Star Wars. It's Han Solo number 1 at
yeah.
152,000. Again, many store exclusive variant covers. I'll be
Han
very.
Solo number 1. They didn't have a Han Solo until June.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's when
How
number
long
1
did
came
they
out.
have the Star Wars license?
January of last year.
They didn't have a Han Solo until. Okay.
It's actually I've read issue 2. It's really good.
I will be
Fun.
curious what issue 3 and 4 sell of Han Solo because I have heard of less than stellar sales on that title. So I'm curious.
Which is
if it
funny
was
because
just extremely
it's actually a
front-loaded.
really fun story. So
Yeah, I'm not saying it's good or bad. I haven't read it. I just have heard maybe not the best things about it. So if you've read it and liked it, let me know. I'm
okay,
curious.
so it has to be up between Wonder Woman, Green Lanterns, and Detective
Wonder Woman number 1. And I guarantee you that not Adam Hughes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Who's the variant covers? Frank Cho.
Yeah.
I guarantee you those Frank Cho covers helped Wonder Woman quite a bit. Wonder Woman number 1.
Those covers are awesome. Frank Cho is such a cheesecakey gentleman.
Yeah, at 107,000 copies. That's the number 9 spot. So, actually, and I'll be dead honest, these DC numbers were much lower than I anticipated. The fact that they were number 1s, Rebirth had such hype, and they were fully returnable. If store averages went by my store, these would have all broke 400,000 copies.
Right, but dude, we know that your store is messed up. Your store is wildly.
Did you hear that?
like-
Did you hear that comment I made a few weeks ago about one of my customers going into a store requesting Wonder Woman number 1 when he was out of town? Did you catch that comment I made a few weeks ago?
I listened to everything that I'm not on, and
Okay.
I did not hear that.
So customer goes out of town and was at a comic book store and went and I'm going to use this example forever because it just proves that the comic book industry is fucking weird.
that your store is very weird.
No, he was told by the people there that like,
Okay,
oh,
your store is very average. Okay,
we don't have Wonder Woman. We don't really sell DC Comics. Like that is that is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And this is a story from Ryan Higgins about one of your little sycophants that came in to tell you a story about like their experience in other stores and why you're
No,
so
no,
great.
this is-
Shocking that this story would be told to you by one of your customers. I can't imagine.
I'm
that
just
this
saying.
happened. By the
DC
way, if you guys listen, I forget which one it was, but I think that it was the Geek Box. But Higgins was talking to Ryan Scott about the Ultimate Edition of BVS, and I do not want to get into BVS Ultimate Edition.
that's going to be in
That's out on
2
next
weeks.
Tuesday.
But
Yeah.
he said like I've had a number of people come into the store individually and tell me
And online, and many people I know in
that-
various
that
forms.
if they liked it, they like it more, and if they didn't like it, they like it more.
They still like it. They
It's like,
think
of course, fucking people that are going to talk to you about this voluntarily
No,
are going to have
no.
good things to say about it. Nobody's going to come in here and be like,
Nope.
you know
this
what,
is-
Ryan Higgins? Actually, it was worse. More story development and character development actually made the movie worse. I just wanted to
Various-
come into your shop and tell you this because it would be a good conversation starter.
Various
Like,
reviews I
it's just
read.
bananas that you would think that would happen.
Comments that I read from various parts of the internet that I am not even in a conversation with.
This must be
Many-
how, on a
many
much
threads.
different scale, the president feels when all these yes men are coming around and being like, "Oh, sir, your ideas are brilliant. Your ideas are brilliant, sir, or ma'am, or ma'am.
websites.
Your ideas are brilliant, ma'am." People come into the store all the time.
So Bryce,
whoa,
so websites that I don't go to, or websites that I go to that I don't post on, Pikachu, nice. Websites that I don't post on, that I don't have an account on, yet I'm reading the comments. They're replying to me, even though I am not, they have no idea who I am. No, I'm just saying I read many, many comments from many people who all said, and this is how it is. If you liked it, you like it more. If you don't like it, they still seem to think it's a better movie.
Okay, we're
So,
getting
the end.
Yeah.
What I
getting
want
off
to talk
track.
about here is I'm now extremely curious about the July numbers because I think these numbers are going to be lower than July because I think so many people were caught shorthanded on Rebirth. So I do want to go over a couple more numbers real quick. Sorry. Flash number 1 was number 11 at 100,000 copies. Green Lantern's Rebirth number 1 was number 12 at 99,000. Detective Comics 934, which is the first issue of Detective Comics, that's number 12. I'm sorry, that's number 13 at 96,000. Wonder Woman Rebirth number 1 is number 15 at 94,000. Detective Comics 935, which is the second part, number 16. And you have Flash Rebirth, Green Lanterns, Green Arrow Rebirth. And then if you got to go down a while, Aquaman number 1 is 24 at 77,000. Action Comics 957 and 958 are 75,000 each at 25 and 26. And then Green Arrow number 1 is 69,000 copies at the number 33 spot.
That is crazy.
And Aquaman Rebirth number 1 is 68,000 copies at the number 35 spot. To me, we're not going to see numbers that low for any of the Rebirth this month because people were caught so shorthanded on those books. And that's why Green Arrow jumped up to be like a $20 book like week 1 because 68,000 copies is less than a 20 copy per store average. And that is mind-boggling that a store would order so few copies of that. What's that? If it's 4,000... so less than that, way too few copies.
So just so I'm understanding this correctly, but
And I could have doubled my orders and still sold out of half of them.
the vast majority of stores across the country, if not the world, just wildly underestimated
100%.
the success
Yep.
and quality
100%.
of DC's Rebirth.
100%.
Well, to be perfectly frank, there was a lot of online, people were not going ooh, Rebirth sounds interesting. When they first announced it, they were getting all sorts of sort of hate for the idea of a relaunch and all that.
I would say 98% of retailers underordered Rebirth. That is not a lie.
I mean, that
It
doesn't
is-
speak to their quality so much as it speaks to the general fuck it.
Well,
How did 98% of you get it wrong?
Exactly, because so few retailers were willing to trust DC.
Yeah.
And that's just
And-
even a full returnability.
And the funny thing is we've been through
But
the
that's what I
returnability
don't-
with DC before with the New 52 stuff because some of those titles were returnable.
It was some, yeah.
That is what I don't understand. Do they not want to go through the trouble of returning, so they just order lower? At full returnability, you harp on all the time about how DC is so much better because of they allow returnability, but then you say that they underordered, and it's well, why the fuck are they underordering if they're this vaunted comic company that is the only one that offers full
So
returnability?
we still have to put money up. Right, it's not like these books are free. I know a lot of comic stores operate on a budget. I don't understand how that works because I order what I believe I can sell. I wouldn't ever want to work on a budget because if I had to cut my orders, I would lose potential sales, which is losing profit. So I don't understand how many businesses, how many comic stores work on a budget.
Right, but
what is the actual
Every comic for the first 4 months at least, as part of the Rebirth, is 100% returnable at a later date. That is part of the problem, is there's no specific date given on when they're returnable. Could be 6 months from now.
What
Could
is
be
the
a year
delta,
from
though,
now.
in general?
6 months is probably pretty reasonable. 4 to 6 months.
Well, normally
so
don't they
you'd
normally
be
don't
tying
they
up
go by
money in the
newsstand?
store for,
I thought that it was the next month. I didn't realize that it was
No,
half
it's usually
a year.
a couple months out.
Yeah.
I'd say 3 to 6 months is average. Give it 4 months is probably average. So
All right, so still you're not going crazy. You're not going for broke, but maybe you can be a little aggressive.
We'll be returning the first month. I'd say October. I'd say about October, November. Which to me is obviously I'm not going to have to hold on to much. And I have, now that people are ordering correctly, we are not selling the same numbers. Obviously, the numbers are down. They're still huge compared to what they were, but they are down. And so I am cutting to what I believe to be slightly more accurate sales. because I don't want to sit on hundreds of thousands, thousands of dollars of unsold merchandise. But for the number one issues, yeah, I'll go big and see where the
hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like
no,
you can't.
I meant thousands of dollars.
Okay,
sorry,
okay.
I said hundreds.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I upped that to thousands, and it came out hundreds of thousands.
Yes, yeah, that escalated quickly.
Yes. But I'm willing on the number ones. I'm willing to see where that ceiling is. And I actually bumped my minimum order for every Rebirth book because of the success of the sales of the first one. So we'll see where that ceiling is. And maybe every store is going to do the same. And now all of a sudden, everything is going to start selling out again because no one's got them. I don't know. It's crazy though. It's crazy.
Marvel is better than DC, but I do have to say that 100% of the DC number ones that I read were enjoyable. And I cannot say that about the Marvel number ones that I read.
Obviously, we'll talk about this more next week, but I'm very curious about what Marvel's going to do with their Marvel Now. It's called Marvel Now.
Smash? I don't know.
It's
I don't.
God, they have Divided. Yeah, Marvel Now Divided.
Stand.
I
quit.
Yeah, Marvel Now Divided we stand. That's their new line. So I'm really curious what they're going to push for the number ones because they don't do returnability, but they do extra discounts, which is cool. Because if you sell them, you're making more money. But they obviously push hard in the variant covers. Those hip hop variant covers were huge for Marvel, but they can't go back to that well again. I think it's done. They're over.
That doesn't make any sense. That statement, like they will find another well. Like,
sure. I'm
like
sure.
they could have a fucking. Can you imagine Marvel and not DC will have a Pokemon fucking variant cover. And your store, you'll become like a double-decker strip mall overnight.
I don't know what they would do. I hope whatever they do, it's very successful.
You should qualify every one of your Marvel or DC dick-tugging comments with how much more Marvel makes you than DC.
Most months it makes me significantly less because I sell way more DC than Marvel, especially recently. That said, Marvel doesn't have to sell quite as much because they're a higher price.
That's what I'm saying.
So a local store to us told me they just ordered more DC than Marvel for the first time ever. I mean, that's normal for us, right? Even at the height of the biggest DC or the biggest Marvel was doing last year, DC was only under by maybe $1,000, maybe $500, where some months of DC is 2 to 3 times our Marvel orders, and that's just the way it is here. It's crazy.
Crazy is one word for it.
Yes. And so to me, the fact that it would be like you coming in here and being like, "Oh, Amazing Spider-Man, I just don't carry Marvel." Of course, I carry Marvel, right? That's crazy to say I don't carry Marvel, but it is crazy to see how the DC is such a small percent, and I've known this for forever that DC is such a small percent in so many stores, and it's a much smaller portion of the industry selling disproportionately more DC comics. Because DC stores are significantly rarer than just a full Marvel store.
That's true. You are a diamond in the rough, Aladdin.
I think it's an age thing. I think the older stores, the older creators that are the older store
maybe
owners,
a generational thing.
Generational, right?
Maybe older than you, still Marvel. Younger than you. Maybe Marvel.
It's everything, right?
Yeah.
I think it is the older stores. Marvel was.
Your age group was that sweet spot of the fucking 80s and 90s when DC was humming.
No, because if you go back to the 70s and 80s, the early 80s especially, Marvel was 85% of the industry, 90% of the industry.
The good old days,
which is crazy. And that changed dramatically in the late 80s and into the 90s.
Yeah.
So I just don't know.
What were the dollar in unit?
Top 300 comics sold is 8.53 million copies, which is up 14% same month to last year. We're still down 8% year to date, but it's
we got that Harley #1 cover.
A couple more months of Rebirth, and we're gonna be up from last year.
Yep.
Just huge trade paperbacks way up. Top, combined total top 300. Let's see, where was my number here? Overall, all comic books, graphic novels, paperbacks, magazine, Diamond sold $58.59 million dollars worth in the month of June, which is up quite a bit. So,
do we have the dollar share for
I don't have the
16%.
breakdown. I don't have the
Okay.
breakdown, but it's pretty close. Here we go. Actually, I do here. Yeah, over unit share 44% for Marvel, 31% for DC. Again, look for that to get closer, I think, because DC's going to have more comics out, too.
Yeah.
Dollar share, 40% Marvel, 29% DC. Marvel had 107 books in the top 300. DC had 66. Image at 37. IDW at 29. Image is taking a big hit. Image is under like 7% or under 8%. So that's the lowest they've been in a while. Yeah, Image is, I don't know. Something's going on with Image. I think it's just people are getting the trades and not getting the single issues because they haven't had a hit in a while. I mean, they have Walking Dead and Saga and Paper Girls. I guess they don't really need anything else. But yeah, Image has had a rough couple months. But what are you gonna do?
Is there any chance
Rebirth.
for the top creator, or sorry, not the top creators at all, the executive staff at the big two to sort of realign their comp packages, or maybe they already have and we just haven't heard about it, to make it more favorable? Because they're losing. It's like crazy attrition, right? Going to Image.
You're talking just the creators.
Yeah.
I think with Marvel and DC, their strength is that they can get them hooked up with Warner Brothers and Disney. And
Really?
Right. 'cause
I mean, like, that's obviously a true statement, but, like,
Yeah.
do you think
for the
that was
big
the
guys,
first thing you mentioned? Do you think that's the first thing that they mentioned?
I would assume that's a huge part of the pull these days.
I mean, I don't disagree. That when you said that, it was like, oh, well, that's
Because
fucking
John's
very
obviously
obvious.
is now head of DC Films. Scott Snyder is involved and runs
God.
their DC school that they do now.
I'm sorry. What?
DC has a school that they do for aspiring creators and
Okay.
to basically teach them the craft of how to create
Oh,
comic books.
Scott Snyder.
Scott Snyder.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
That's
thought
his
you were
Zack
saying
Snyder.
Zack Snyder. No, you said Snyder.
Yeah. Okay.
And I
yeah.
was filled with
No, Scott Snyder. Scott
with
Snyder.
filled with
horrible
fear.
Yeah.
horrible itches all over my body, and I broke
Scott
out into
Snyder.
hives and vomited on Toby's Pokemon Go phone.
Scott Snyder. Let's move on to now that we're half an hour into this episode, let's move on to our actual topic this week. That is, we're
Civil
wrapping
War
up.
number 2. Let's.
We'll get to that.
Oh.
We're going to talk about all our the last of the great Marvel number ones that have come out as we are now entering.
Where's my pile?
I got the pile here, so I'll pass it around as we're.
Please do.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
happy
yeah.
to talk about how great it was or is.
So this is the last of the Marvel number ones. We're getting some new ones in a couple months.
Is it all new, all different?
Yeah, this is the end of the all new, all different stuff. And I
Every
believe at this
time-
point,
every time you open your mouth.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
At this point, I believe we've covered everything. So let's see what we think. We got number 1, Punisher by Becky Cloonan, Steve Dillon, old school artist on Punisher during all the Garth Ennis stuff. One of my favorites. This is we've been a while since we've had a Punisher series.
No, we had the Edmondson one.
Oh,
before
that's
this.
right. God, I forgot about that.
It wasn't bad.
No, I feel like that just kind of vanished, though,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah, that really just kind of vanished.
Ryan, I prefer it when Brock says things that are wrong. I don't like it when he says things
No,
that are right.
that series started off really good, but it just kind of
No, I know, but
kind of cropped out.
he just sort of called you out, and he was right.
It happens.
Please don't do that again.
Broken clock, etc., etc. So here's my problem with Punisher comics. The Punisher is rarely the main character because it's usually about how people react to the Punisher. But I felt like this issue kind of was I felt like this is just the same story we saw with Rucka, the same story we saw with Edmondson run, the same story we saw with the many Garth Ennis runs. I liked it, especially with Steve Dillon back on art. But there was nothing that really to me, except for the final page, that was pretty interesting. Nothing really jumped out at me with this one. Toby, I know you're obviously a huge fan of the Rucka stuff. There's no connection here to that stuff, right?
Well, it feels
Is
like
your mic's not on? Turn your mic on.
it feels like that book,
It does,
but
because it's following the cops.
yeah, but This is a
Wait.
common theme that will.
Are those the same
cover.
cops though?
No, I don't think so.
No,
Okay.
absolutely not.
But it just feels like that.
It feels like a weird imitation.
It feels like the best Punisher run that's ever happened.
It feels like an imitation
Yeah,
of the
and
Rucker
it's something
run.
I'm gonna revisit.
you give it
multiple-
one issue. You say it feels,
Well, it's kind of something I'm gonna revisit with our little pile here.
But Toby,
actually.
talk too, because I know you're
no,
not
no,
a Steve.
no. Toby will get his turn.
Okay.
Well, we'll go around. Let's get Brock
All right,
is
Brock.
next.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I haven't read the Rucka stuff. I did read.
Shame on you.
I haven't had a chance.
You are a
to.
bastard.
Yeah, horrible human being.
Do they understand how much there is to read?
It's a lot of comics.
Do they understand? I enjoyed it for the most part. I mean, it really harkened to. I can't remember the name of the miniseries that Garth Ennis did with Steve Dillon last. Was it War Journal?
All right, it's your turn.
The one with, like, the-
Warzone.
It's out.
Warzone, the one with the like mama.
Yeah.
It had kind of that feeling to it for me. So yeah, I think I felt like it was repeating something, like it was imitating or trying to repeat.
Yeah, I thought the Edmondson stuff was a fresh Punisher story.
Yeah, the Edmund stuff was
at least when
I
it
liked
started.
it, yeah,
but I didn't. Yeah, this kind of felt like, well, yeah, it's the same Punisher story we always see. So,
but I think you're correct in saying that Punisher's not about necessarily the Punisher. It's about the people that are he's helping or the people that are he's hunting or punishing, I should say.
Yeah.
It's almost,
most are. I mean, that's
it's
gonna be most
it's like
Punisher
Walking
stories.
Dead, right? It's about the people, not the dead.
Right.
So,
right.
But I mean, I love Steve Dillon's art on Punisher. Like, it's always amazing. So, despite kind of it feeling like an imitation, I did enjoy reading it.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you were to check out something that said Punisher #1 would be something you should look at.
Yeah. I think if you like Punisher stories, it's perfectly fine. But if you're looking for something new, it's just another Punisher story.
Yeah.
The second issue, I kind of like the second issue a little bit more. But
So I haven't read the second issue, and Higgins actually,
What's wrong with
that
you?
bastard, just stole my sort of the gist of my review, which is exactly that. So I also, and this is tainted with my experience, because I also I own them and have not read the Ennis or Rucka run. Although I've heard that they're amazing, and I'm sure that they're great,
Wait,
and I
so
like
I
the
get
Punisher.
shit from a guy that hasn't even read them either?
No, you get shit for saying stupid things a lot. So,
But I just said what you said.
well,
yeah, stupid things. Hey?
exactly.
Okay.
So anyway, yeah, I don't have much to say other than that it was good. Brian or Higgins, sorry, says that it was an imitation of the Rucka stuff. Okay, well, one of them said it. And
Toby said it. I agreed.
Yeah, and I did.
Well, you let into
Sure.
boring. Anyway, so it doesn't fucking matter. One of you said that it was an imitation, and I can't say if that's true or not true. I guess that it's true since you said it, and I don't know. But the reveal at the end is a creepy villain. The story is an enjoyable Punisher revenge story with cops sort of seeing him as a force of nature. I thought it was very enjoyable.
what is Becky Gluen known for? Actually,
It's
I'm
just
not.
a lot of indie work.
Oh, is it okay? Because I recognize her name. I don't think I've ever read anything of hers before. I'm not going to say anything new here. This feels like a decent Punisher story. Nothing new, nothing special. It does feel like and this is a thing that I'm gonna revisit with a lot of books tonight. It feels like a weird imitation, grabbing something that was good. But the story, it feels like it's the Rucka run, and with the art, it's obviously the great Ennis run.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big fan of Dillon's art, and I've said that multiple times before, so that's not a surprise. But as usual, when you read his stuff, or not his stuff, but stuff that he's drawn,
Yeah.
the art disappears and flows with the story. So it's always kind of cool, even though when I flip through the book, I don't really enjoy it. But when I read it, it's actually fine.
I think his art always fits the books he works on.
Yeah.
You're not going to see him on Batman. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Wait, can I say something really embarrassing?
Sure.
I thought this whole time until Toby just opened his mouth that this Becky Cloonan person was the Vertigo person. Is that not true?
Becky Cloonan? I mean, she might have done some work for Vertigo, but I don't think so. Who are you thinking of?
I'm
Karen
thinking-
Berger? The editor?
Yes.
She's an editor.
I am.
She's editing some
Karen
stuff.
Berger.
Yeah, no,
Wow.
she's not a writer.
I'm a misogynist. I would like to apologize to everybody. I did not know.
She's editing some a new Image comic. I can't remember what it's called though.
I knew. Okay, yep. I have no excuse. Okay. Anyway, that doesn't change my review of the book. I still liked it. Meh. But
Sure.
I retract everything negative that I said about Higgins because I thought that this is the Vertigo girl.
All right.
Charles.
So I will start out by saying that in general, I agree with everything that's been said about the art, Arkans the Ennis. The story so far is kind of reminiscent of Rucka. But that being said, Rucka's run, like the story style and stuff, sold me on issue 1, but it was really sort of building up all the surrounding characters to Punisher that made that run so successful, especially giving sort of Punisher a partner in the lady who had the same mission as him and
Right.
kind of really built that up over time. So I can't tell from this first issue if they have a clear idea of what direction they're going to take and how they're going to build that up to be as good a run. It could go either way. So I'm not really ready to give it a meh or not. It's more of a, you know what, if you're just looking for a good Punisher story for now, see where it goes in the first arc. It may turn into something great and wonderful like the Ennis run and Rucka and that stuff. Or it may just sort of stay standard fare for Punisher, but you can't tell that from one issue on a Punisher
can't,
story.
yeah. Not these days anymore.
No.
So let's move on to the next one, Nighthawk number 1. Whoops, I lost my page. Where is it? By I apparently completely lost my page entirely. By David Walker, Ramon Villalobos. Yeah, we're really in the dregs of of Marvel launches at this point. Look, I have nothing against. I actually love Squadron Supreme. Generally, as a concept, it's an evil Justice League in the Marvel universe. I legitimately like the Squadron Supreme book that's out right now. You don't need a Hyperion book, and you definitely don't need a Nighthawk book. I honestly, I didn't even finish reading this comic. I think the art's terrible. I couldn't even tell you what happened in this book. I don't remember. Nighthawk, he fights some rednecks. I don't even know. That's my review. I tried. I read it, and I went. We'll go backwards. We'll mix up the order here so Charlie doesn't get the it kind of felt like the Punisher book, honestly, a little bit. Like it was like it's a bunch of cops and Nighthawk's kicking the shit out of some people and I don't know. I guess there's your story. Like there was nothing in this book that made me excited to read the second issue. I said I didn't even finish the first issue. I thought it was just a completely unnecessary, extremely mediocre, terrible art. Just
really?
Nighthawk?
It feels
Okay.
like one of
I'll
those
let Brock
indie
go
books.
first. Dude, what are you talking about? This is
Charlie is next. You get your turn.
Jeez, Charlie had to put down.
I got nothing to say about this book. Like whatever. I have no interest in reading
Dude, are
this
you
title.
kidding? Look at this art. This is Frank Quitely, dude. This is Frank.
No.
Oh my god.
Like
oh my
the
god.
war.
Oh my god.
Like the 7th generation Frank Quietly clone that got
So-
mutated at birth.
Charlie, go. Charlie, go.
I understand what Bryce is saying because
Thank
I
you,
do see
Charlie.
the influence,
Charlie
but it's
only speaks
not
the truth.
as refined at all.
I can see
as-
influence, but not resemblance. It doesn't look anything
No,
like.
because Charlie will only end up agreeing with you in some capacity.
Well, I just said I can definitely see the influence, but it's not as refined.
No, not.
Refined.
Yeah.
Frank Quitely, refined. Those words belong together like DC and awesome, which is
Don't-
to say not.
Much like Steve Dillon. Look at Steve Dillon and Frank Quitely. Not the quality of the art, but the not the style of the art. I'm sorry, but the quality of their interior layouts, their design work, the panel structure, the flow of the characters, the mood setting these guys do. It always is so good. You might not like their style, but you cannot deny their quality.
Okay, are you
And this
familiar-
guy is just like very generic, like bad indie, fat image, weird
Feels like the old Lady Death, whatever that brand is.
chaos.
Well,
No, what's the other one?
Cross gen.
No, the
One
one that
across
had
from
like these hardcovers, like with the cardboard covers, and they always had like 7 or 8.
Boundless? That's the
No,
more recent
like
one.
A something. It was A something. They had like Lady Death later.
Avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like one of those artists.
Sure.
Okay.
Overall, I see what they're trying to do with this book. Like Ryan already kind of said, I like some stuff they have done with the Squadron Supreme overall. And when you have a very, very clear vision for the characters, I can see them doing mini-series and whatnot with the various characters to flesh them out.
Well, that's what they did
But-
with the old stuff, right?
Yeah. But for me at this point, I don't feel like it's ready for spin-off books or anything like that.
Well,
and the
number
way
one-
this is kind of working with sort of a cross between Punisher, Midnighter, and Batman all kind of bound together in this one issue doesn't
And Angry.
really...
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I was gonna,
Yeah. Doesn't really work for me.
Yeah, because number 1 of this came out, what, issue 4 or 5 of Squadron Supreme?
At least, what, up to 8 or 9 now?
Yeah.
Way late, yeah. Toby, go for it.
Yeah. This is one of the first ones I read because I had no interest in it, and I probably still don't have any interest in it. I already covered the art issue for me. I mean, no disrespect to the artist, obviously. It's just not for me. He feels a little too angry. I don't know. I just don't have a whole lot of interest in this book.
It's a rare book where I read it and I didn't remember what I just read. Does that happen to you guys
Yeah, it happens to
ever?
me all the
It
time.
happens a lot, but
If I run Higgins, that happens to me with every Marvel book I read. That's weird.
Huh.
well,
Just wait.
here's a problem with the Nighthawk book is maybe I've been around comics too long because I will compare it to other books before, especially
Sure.
the Squadron Supreme that Straczynski did. I thought that was phenomenal. I thought that run of Nighthawk was pretty decent too. Like it was pretty darn good.
There was a point. It said something.
Yeah.
It had a unique spin.
Yeah.
It felt important.
Yeah, so this is like revisiting that for no reason. So I was kind of like, why?
Yeah.
But again, there's a ongoing theme, and these reviews going to go on for a while here.
Anyway, so all I'm going to say about this, I'm not going to defend this book. This book was, you know, you're not wrong in that it was like The Punisher. I do have to say that Mr. Villalobos is like a decade younger than Frank Quitely, and if this exact book were named Batman #1 and it were drawn by Frank Quitely, Ryan Higgins would give it a 5 out of 10 instead of a 2 out of 10. Right now he gives it a 2 out of 10. I'm telling you right now that this book, while not great, if it had been like renamed, it would have had the exact same story and drawn by somebody
Seriously,
with the same style.
Instead of telling me that I would like it better if it was a DC book, just tell me what you think for the book. It doesn't matter what I think, because I think you're going to actually be very surprised by the majority of the books in the stack. What my opinions of them are.
Anyway.
So keep going.
This book was brutal.
The truth.
So Higgins gives us a 2 out of 10.
I didn't even finish. It's a 0 out of 10. I could not finish the comic.
Anyway, I give this like a 5 or a 6 out of 10, and the 6 would be only because I'm a Marvel file. Like,
It's Marvel, so it's a 5 out of 10.
No, he starts out with 3.
so like every Marvel book starts at a 5 out of 10.
You just go.
No. Every book starts at like a 3 or 4 out of 10. This made it up to 5 or 6 out of 10. Look, I get it, Angry Batman. Yeah, I don't know. I'm on record as disliking Frank Quitely's art, and I thought this looked exactly like it. I know that these guys didn't. I thought that it did, and that just made it even more brutal for me. I love Batman, and I love the idea of a Marvel Batman, and I even more love the idea that Marvel is like, fuck you, we want a Batman. Or not we want a Batman, but so much like, you know, we're going to have our own Batman. Like, fuck you.
Do you really like that, though, honestly?
I do, because
Why don't you just read Batman,
so
then? Like, I don't want DC to have a Spider-Man. Like, I don't. I read Spidey for Spidey, and then I read Batman for Batman. I'm like, why would I want to have an imitation of it?
So like
I never liked
Robin
any-
and all of your ironic teenagers with the
Yeah,
with
but
the
they're
Titans,
they're
not
secondary
anything like
generation
Spider-Man.
characters. That's different.
I don't know. They've been around less long than Spider-Man.
Like, I don't mind Miles Morales.
Wow, it's one of us.
You mind him? Really?
How it's just like fucking please, like you're gonna have this quote unquote new character that's identical to the original.
Yeah, but I don't like.
Do you mind?
I don't care for
female
Nighthawk.
Thor and young black Iron Man. And
Actually, looking forward to the
totally
young black
awesome
Iron Man.
and totally awesome Hulk.
There is an
and, like,
article on Comic Resources today that Dick Grayson is the longest running character in DC history that has never been killed. Because, I mean, he's Robin, and
He almost got killed.
he almost did, but he was never, like, officially killed, right?
Yeah, but they were
No,
planning on it.
he's like that character on Survivor that never is popular enough. To,
Do you
like,
know
get
who
enough
who the longest running Marvel character is that's never been killed?
Night Thrasher. Oh, no, wait, he did get killed.
I don't know.
Slapstick?
I saw a post on Facebook. Is it Spider-Man 2099?
It's Miles Morales.
What? No.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, Spider-Man 2099?
Longest running?
Yep.
Has he ever...
No. Wolverine was alive way longer than he was.
Nearly every character was killed in. Most of the characters were killed in Secret Wars.
Okay, are you gonna throw some
all the
crazy
characters were
caveats at
killed
us that-
in Infinity Gauntlet, and almost every single character in the Marvel Universe was killed as part of Secret Wars. Miles Morales is a rare character that survived Secret Wars because he never died. He was one of the ones that came over, and the few people that came over.
I still don't believe in all of Marvel history that Miles Morales is the longest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I also call fucking bullshit on
current,
that.
like current character.
Okay,
Like in
so-
all the years put together.
No, he's just throwing extra... Okay.
I didn't
I
want
just read
to
the
name
article.
stayed alive longer than Miles Morales.
Brock, what do you think of this comic?
Okay, I appreciate that article that you read of this crazy qualification that led to some crazy circumstances. That's pretty cool. Nighthawk fucking was weak.
Ditto.
Yeah.
That's a hard Pokemon to catch, too, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Huh?
Actually, I don't know that.
Rattata? That's not
No,
hard.
the I think everyone nailed it with the art. It's an angry Batman.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sitting here reading it, going, "Is this Night Owl?" Like,
Sure, it is.
like,
it absolutely is Night Owl.
Like, is this Night Owl? Because if this is Night Owl, I don't want to read it because it's not Night Owl.
Right, no, it's 100% Night Owl because it's Batman because it's
So you
They're all the same character.
So what does that mean? That you would read it if it was Night Owl?
Well, Night Owl's the opposite of what is the evil version of Batman.
Oh my god! Fucking poke me in the eye with a spoon. Yeah, dude. I know.
that's the joke.
I get it. I get the joke, but that doesn't answer my question again.
Well, the thing is I don't care about the character either.
That does answer my question.
Like
I actually-
read the
I-
first
I like-
read the first issue of Squadron Supreme.
I like Hyperion and Nighthawk, and that's why I'm sad that these books are fucking awful.
Like I read the first issue of
Wow, you like
Squadron
Hyperion?
Supreme.
I like the Squadron Supreme. I
Squadron Supreme. Yes.
Nighthawk and Hyperion are
Oh.
from.
Jigglypuff.
Hyperion.
Jigglypuff.
All right,
Yes.
just
Fuck him,
let's just move on.
Hyperion. He's
We're gonna move on
he's
here.
even better than Superman.
We're going to move on here to Steve Rogers, Captain America #1 by Nick Spencer and Jesus Size. So,
Are you kidding me,
what?
So number one.
dude? It's Jesus.
Jesus?
You don't say Jesus.
Jesus
Fuck.
Size? What? So, anyway,
That's-
what?
It just depends on how they
Okay.
want it pronounced.
Jesus Size.
There you go.
Jesus size.
Do you really
S-I-A-Z.
when you see the word as we say Jesus? Do you say Jesus all the time?
I mean, sometimes. It
Why don't we
doesn't
just-
matter. Anyway, I think everyone listening to this podcast knows the big twist of Captain America #1. In case you don't,
Hail Hydra.
Steve Rogers has always been a Hydra.
Spoiler!
Steve Rogers has always been a Hydra agent since forever, unless you read issue #2, in which you discover that Steve Rogers was never a Hydra agent. It's just Red Skull has briefly alternated time or changed time with the Cosmic Cube, just like everyone knew was going to happen. I kind of hate the Sam Wilson Captain America book by the same creator, by Nick Spencer.
Yeah.
I think it's not good at all. I love Steve Rogers Captain America #1. I really like this first issue. So Steve is getting reacquainted with all his various friends.
Getting his posse back there.
Now that he is younger again and kind of coming back out, being Cap. And there's also a story, the sort of story in the background of his mom growing up. Apparently, had been we now know by the Red Skull. Time had changed and history had changed, and his mom was somehow involved with Hydra back in the 30s. Baron Zemo is trying to reform the New Masters, but it's doesn't go quite right, and of course we get that classic Hail Hydra last page as he kicks not Bucky, who is it? Jack Flag.
Jack Flag.
Yeah. As he quote unquote kills Jack Flag. I just say I love this book. I really like this issue. I think I went in with pretty low expectations because I didn't like Sam Wilson, and and the spoiler is ridiculous. But that said, I very, very happy with this book. Obviously, this arc the story will last an arc, and then this will be over,
And we'll get another number one.
and we'll get another number one. But I was pretty impressed with this comic. Again, maybe just because expectations are so low, but I was very happy with it. Let's start with Toby this time.
Oh, me?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
alright.
We'll go kind of cross table here.
So, with as much hate as this book received, I just wished
It got hate from people that didn't read.
90% of them would have actually read this fucking book because it was a really damn good read. Better Captain America book than it has been in years, since Mr. Brubaker left the book. And
Yeah.
It's been complete garbage in my mind for many years. So it was a nice, happy return. Why is Carter old?
Yeah.
I don't actually know, Bryce. You've been keeping up with the why is Agent Carter?
So, for those of you that don't know,
I don't
Because she was
know.
young.
I'm going to posit a
recently.
theory.
So you don't know either.
Because I also
so you don't know either.
But in the Remender run, didn't she go to to Dimension Z with
is
Arnim
that what
Zola?
happened?
Oh.
So this is what I think, and just like my Europe
No.
story,
Is she
He
not
did
there?
say it's a
Wait
theory.
for Charlie.
He
of
did
course,
say it's
Charlie
a
had to sit back down before I finished. God
Okay,
damn it,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Why is Sharon Carter old? Because
I don't know why
actually
she's
don't know.
old.
Oh, what?
But Cap went off by himself to that alternate dimension and all
Dude,
that.
and she died in Dimension Z and came back in Dimension Z and then came back here and aged.
Why is Sharon
did she
Carter
die?
older?
Didn't she die at the end of the Remender run? I'm pretty sure she died.
No, I remember
Let's just
him
blame-
Well, doesn't matter.
leaving her, ending up in Dimension Z, coming back from Dimension Z, with all that sort of fallout from.
You know, one of us has a terrible memory, and my wife will tell you that it's me. But I'm pretty sure that I'm right on this one. I think
don't
that
think
she
she
died.
went with. I don't think she went with him there.
Ladies and gentlemen,
All right. So
we need to vote from Twitter.
Here is a question. So she spent time in Dimension Z fighting Arnim Zola.
When?
So
Did they go back? Did they go back to Dimension Z after he came back?
No,
Remember,
she went there and stayed there and fought Dimension Z, and then Remender got fucking cut from that arc, which was thank God.
So here's a explanation from someone. Sharon Carter is the niece of Peggy Carter, who served in World War II, putting Peggy in her late 80s, if not 90s. Sharon Carter, as her niece, couldn't have been much younger. So to continue her to be her niece, she has to be significantly older. So by aging her in Dimension Z, she is now older in modern continuity to match the timeline of how she should
Oh.
appear. Although that is not maybe specifically the reasoning
I mean,
Marvel
I guess
gives.
that kind of makes
weird.
sense.
But it's an interesting explanation of how could she be her niece if she's
yeah,
30 years old, right?
exactly.
If she's 90.
Well, I mean, the actress in the Civil War movie wasn't that young. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, I appreciate that. Oh, Charlie's so angry with me. He's going to look at trades in the fucking back of Ryan's store.
He's storming.
Okay.
Anyways, back to the book. I enjoyed the art. The writing was pretty damn good. I haven't enjoyed a book of Marvel in this caliber in a while, so
Fuck
this is
you.
one of the better ones in the stack.
Bryce.
Okay.
What do you think, Bryce? Cap?
I feel like comic reviews, when done by 16 people, aka 5 people.
That's why I'm trying to keep mixing it up.
Okay, I appreciate that. I just like the other reviews. By the time it got to the fourth person, yeah, I don't have much to say. It was fine. I hate the idea of Hail Hydra Cap, but I also know that it's going to go away. So, do I like Nick Spencer? Yes. Do I like him more or less?
Charlie's got the Captain America trade. He's looking.
Well, no, because he
Charlie's
leaves
so
her
angry.
there.
Is
So
your
when
mic
did
on?
She end up in
You turn your mic
Dimension
off?
Z?
Is that he wrote it for 12 issues? Is that a 12-issue book? No.
Well, no, but it's the first story arc when Cap goes to Dimension Z, which is why I'm trying
It
to
was
remember.
a 12-issue arc. She shows up in like issue 8 or something.
Okay.
Or 9. Yeah,
I-
she shows up not.
I read the first issue and went, nope. I'll check you out
I
next
Yeah,
number one.
I
spoiler
thought
alert, Brian
I
Higgins
thought I
didn't read
read
it.
all the way to when he came back, and I don't remember
I'm
ever
pretty
being
sure
in
she
Dimension
showed,
Z.
dude, I'm thinking she might have showed up in like issue fucking like 11
What
out
do you
of
think
12.
of the book, Bryce?
Anyway, what do I think of the book?
I got like 7 books here left.
Okay, so I don't know. I liked it. I hate when fucking Arno Stark is like Iron Man's father. What the fuck happened?
I haven't liked an Iron Man book in like 5 years now.
What the fuck happened with Iron Man and Arno Stark? Like
Nobody cares.
Peter Parker and his
worst.
parents, like the fact that they were clones was the only thing that saved that story. I hate when people go back and they're like, when these writers are, I don't know if they're out of ideas or if they're lazy or like, I have a hard time remembering that some of these writers are younger than me. Like, I just get so angry, which is wildly hyperbolic because I'm actually not angry so much as just frustrated and depressed. That like these artists and not artists, writers. These writers are just like, oh, well, I don't really have an original story idea, so I'll just completely change their past, which, Higgins loves that Grant Morrison like totally fucked with Batman's past, and Batman that's a huge question mark. That whole the whole like Batman thing is a question mark. But dude, Bendis has been just the worst culprit about this in recent history.
So, Brock, what do you think of Captain America #1?
And
what does
so-
this have to do with it, Bryce? And
So-
what did you think of the comic book?
No, I mean, what did I think about the comic book? It was a great comic book. It was a great read that'll be gone in 6 months.
Yeah, of course.
And it had good art. What the fuck?
No, that was a fun first issue.
Yeah, that was already said.
Okay, then
Boring.
what's the rest of this?
I just wish that fucking artists, or sorry, God, fucking.
He's been in France and he couldn't talk to anybody about this, so he has to get it all out.
I just wish that writers could tell stories that didn't be like, oh, what if we changed? What if their entire past that has been in the case for 30 years wasn't what it is?
Happens
And
a
it's
lot.
No, I know it is. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, I get it. I get it. Captain America's always been a part of Hydra. We didn't get it. For 50 years, he's been a part of Hydra. We're, like, total rubes for not having seen this coming. Like, Anyway.
Brock, what do you think of this book?
I like Nick Spencer.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't like the Sam Wilson book.
I did not like the Sam Wilson
my
book.
God. Is that a #1 we have to cover? I hope
No. That was like a year ago.
Oh, my God. Heaven help us.
I think Sharon being older was weird.
Again, I just didn't read the previous stuff, so I hadn't seen her in a while.
To me, it was just weird, and there's a scene where they're talking, and it just got me thinking, man, Steve's into cougars. But I think the hardest part for me was the pamphlet his mom was given had the skull and tentacles on it. I don't know about you, but as a parent, I wouldn't go to a meeting and take my kids to that.
It was a different time.
But still, it's
Skull and
like
Crossbones are good. It's
I
fine.
think that there should be a moratorium on people that use the same joke for Facebook as for podcasts.
Oh, come on, man. Half my shit is making
I know,
jokes on
both
Twitter
of you are
and
the
then doing
worst.
it on
Both of you. Both of you.
overall, I liked the lightheartedness that Nick Spencer brought to Cap this time.
I thought that's actually
It's-
maybe the one thing I didn't like. The Zemo stuff was a little goofy.
The Zemo stuff was goofy, but I'm saying like because
If that was the whole book, I would have loved it. But
Yeah,
it doesn't. It kind of doesn't fit.
yeah, I think that Nick Spencer. I love his Ant-Man stuff. It's
Yeah.
perfect for that character.
Yeah,
His
totally.
Superior Foes it was amazing.
Great.
But bringing that feeling to Cap.
Price just looks so angry.
First of all, I'm angry that you will fucking agree if Ryan Higgins said that gravity doesn't exist. Second of all,
If he said gravity doesn't exist, I'd be like, "Are you an idiot?"
no, I'm pretty sure that you would giggle maniacally, and then you would agree with him.
Because I think he
and
was
then you
an
would,
idiot.
and then you would restate what he's just said. Second of all, I have to say that Nick Spencer, I agree with what you guys are saying about Baron Zemo, but like, see, he should have toned it down.
Yeah.
maybe more, like slightly.
Yeah.
I loved that he brought some of his humor.
Yeah.
into the Cap book.
That's the thing is like I couldn't stand the Cap stuff right after Brubaker when they did the #1
The Remender.
where he went. It just didn't fit.
I don't even want to talk about Remender. Can we just
Can I
pretend
finish?
it doesn't exist? I'll listen to the words that come out of your mouth.
Yes,
please.
please. That'd be great. Here, I liked it was a different tone, especially coming after the
Yeah.
Sam Wilson stuff.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is the story that's wanting to be told in this does not fit Nick Spencer. Just from this issue. Now, reading issue 2,
Well, I hate that they're dealing with the cosmic cube girl. I hate her.
Oh, Kobik? You don't like Kobik?
Oh
Yeah.
god,
I also
hated her when she was called New 50 Sue over at DC, and I hate her now in this.
First of all,
Worst.
awesome.
that
No,
is- I've never heard that. That is hilarious.
I hate New 50 Sue. I hated that entire arc.
Awesome. I love her.
Dude, that is hilarious.
That was in,
of course you didn't like it.
Teacher's
That's
End.
awesomely funny, and I also
She's
don't like
annoying. She's
her.
annoying. Let's move on.
Assault on Pleasant Hill. Did we have a wrap up on that?
God,
That
no,
was
I didn't
so
even
bad.
read it. I didn't even read it.
Nobody gave two shits.
Bryce, we're gonna have you start with this one.
Wait,
Oh, just
Charlie
to get
didn't
it out
get
of
his
the
shot.
way.
Oh wait, no. No, sorry, we skipped you.
How
Charlie.
dare you.
What do you think? What do you think, Cap?
I was too busy just arguing about the previous.
Yeah, you
chapter.
got up. I missed my.
No, my review will be very short on this.
Charlie, what do you think of Cap?
I was not really into the book in general. That being said, it's something that will keep me reading for at least an arc, which is more than I can say for any other Cap book recently. So
You didn't read the whole arc of the Remender run?
I know I read till he came back, which, yes, you're right. She
Apparently
shows up
you didn't,
towards
since
the
you got
end.
that whole Sharon Carter thing fucked
Well,
up.
I forgot that Sharon's the one who killed his son.
Yeah.
His
You forgot
adopted
because you
son.
didn't read it,
No.
Chuck.
I even read past when he came back and the Kirby-esque chick was trying to get along on Earth and all that for a while.
Oh god, she was the worst. Dark Black or whatever her name was.
I don't remember.
Something about pitch
But-
black.
Not like Red Skull's like daughter or some
no,
crap.
Arnim Zola's
Zola's
daughter.
Zola's daughter,
Fuck you.
yeah, yeah,
God,
yeah.
You don't even read comics.
No, I didn't read that shit. No,
God.
Any
I like how
event,
you're even commenting on it. You're like, I read half the
was
first
someone's
issue out
daughter.
of 12,
But no,
and I put it down.
I read the whole first issue. It was terrible.
yeah, I forgot that she showed up towards the end of that run because she wasn't there when he first.
I'm
went
shocked
there.
that she's not like currently a pop toy. Like she was so popular by the end of that run, and by popular I mean like I'm sorry, not popular by Charlie or Brock or Higgins standards, but like
The only thing
she
I
was so
remember-
present in that arc or that.
The only thing
story.
I remember was that Falcon statutory raped her because she's supposed to be like 6 years old or something. That's the only thing I remember about
So
that.
first of all,
remember that chaos when that came out.
Yeah.
Fuck.
all right. Cue the
Anyway,
Brock laughing and agreeing with you.
Bryce, what do you think
I
of
thought
this
that,
gem I gave you?
So-
Tell me who were the creators on this title.
Let me just tell you.
Oh, that's just a
is-
nail in Charlie's little
So
heart.
Chris Sims and Chad Bowers.
Chris Sims is like the worst person on earth, but
Oh, wait, that's not the book I was thinking
that
of.
was
Never
before
mind,
he
I
even
take my
started
words
writing
back.
comics.
Talking about.
Oh, Chris Sims is terrible.
I don't know who he is, but
He-
he's
he-
not the
he-
worst.
he's-
Simon Spurrier is the worst.
No, Chris Sims used to be some absolute shithead that wrote for a bunch of comic review sites and news sites. He was a terrible, and now he's writing the worst comics published. So,
So first
that makes
of all,
me happy.
this is the third worst comic published.
Yeah, I'm
ever.
holding the worst comic ever published in my hands. Sorry, Charlie.
I don't know what that is.
We'll get to it.
Oh yeah, we'll get to
Anyway,
it.
so Alti Ferreira is doing the art for this book, dude. I like to think I believe in karma. I actually do. I don't know why that's funny, but I do. I do believe in karma, and I believe that every good thing that I do reaps benefits down the line, and I believe that every nasty thing I do, which is plenty, punishes me in some way. I just had for all the Pokemon Go people out there, I just had a Fearow fly away from me just a minute ago. I believe that's because I insulted Brock earlier.
That's right.
X-Men 92, I believe, is the negative karma to make up for the luck and good karma I got when my wife agreed to marry this shitbag that is me. Which is to say, this is so bad.
This is what we want to hear.
This is such a bad comic book. This is the worst piece of shit that I have read. Second worst piece of shit that I have read since before I married the poor soul that married me because she was duped into my duplicitous nature and charming smile and good haircut that I get from this lady that doesn't speak English across the Away from Ryan store. X-Men 92, Ryan 92. We wish.
Oh man, Ryan 92 was amazing.
Yeah,
I had long
with
hair,
special goth powers.
No, that was a couple years later.
Eyeliner.
No, that's like Ryan 98.
It's pronounced guyliner. Anyway, this story could have been the greatest story ever told. What this story continues to do, however, is include every character from the 90s and spend the entire... and I think that I may have even got issue 2. Spend every issue that I got and read making fun of the 90s and poking fun of it. A choice quote from just a random sampling of pages. I'm a lonely rebel, Logan.
Yeah.
How could I not have a vigilante sidekick
So
and
let me-
scantily clad? Like,
Real quick, X-Men 92, number 4. So we're not talking number 1 or number 2 where you can't really adjust your orders, or number 3 where retailers think, oh, maybe this will still work. Number 4, okay?
I am
What number
already
in the
stupefied that this issue made it. This book made it to 4 issues.
What number in the sales charts do you think it is?
I'm surprised it actually
Top
above
300.
300.
Top 300.
So
If
this
you had
is
to- if
one
you
of
had to guess.
those very, very bipolar comics where I feel like it deserves to have sold nothing, but I also, in reality, feel that there are enough idiots like me that bought this piece of shit. But you're saying, okay, so you're saying by issue 4? Oh my God, that's putting a lot of faith in humanity. I would say that this sold 17 copies.
You're close. It was the number 91 comic of the month, selling 25,044 copies. Let's just give you a couple books in the general area around it, and some books below it. Vision is the 98 comic for the month, selling 22,000
No, but we've talked
copies.
about that. That's not fair.
Toby's favorite, Silk, number 95. That's selling 23,000 copies.
If anything, that only confirms my worst nightmare, which is that this sold infinitely better than it should have.
The Hype to Hell Lumberjanes Gotham Academy crossover was the number 106 comic, selling 20,695 copies.
How did this be?
Wait a minute. X-Men 92 number 4 broke into the top 100 comics?
Yeah.
And it beat Vision.
Yeah.
I don't even want to talk about that.
Long live the 90s.
Dude,
just
this comic is... So I said this is the second worst. The worst is the worst X-Men ever, which is a miniseries of only 5 issues. I liked the first issue, but then it quickly jumped the shark, and even though issue number 1 wasn't that good, issues 2 through 5 were fucking the worst. But X-Men 92, it's like it takes your childhood and it takes the laundry basket you have upstairs and it dumps out the laundry. And by the way, you have dirty laundry all over your floor now. And then it takes a dump in the laundry basket. And by the way, it had a bunch of caffeine and alcohol the previous day, preferably IPAs because that's what I prefer. And that means it's splattered, not solid, delicious logs.
Could we just assume that everyone has the same review so we don't have to
I
talk
was
about
going to
this book
say,
anymore?
I don't
at
even
this
think I
point,
finished this book.
I think it's fine to just take Bryce's review and just...
Because Bryce has
On the Rent
correct-
Skipper pass, on the Rent Skipper buy model, this
Burn
is a
it.
solid burn. Yes, this is a solid wipe your ass. I'm just so angry because it had so much potential. That's at the
Charlie,
end of the day. That's what
Well,
it is.
I'm gonna do the best comparison was, and I mentioned this before. In the 90s, you could go to Pizza Hut and they have these like
Yeah.
X-Men
X-Men
books
comics, yeah.
that were like fake X-Men books.
We all had
This totally reads like that.
Yeah. Charlie. Thunderbolts number 1. What do you think of this comic book? Let's have Charlie talk about it first.
This is bias, boy.
Because I know this is going to be a sore subject. But I actually have no idea what Charlie thinks of
my
this
God, I don't
comic.
know.
Charlie,
Okay.
I'll say
Charlie,
it's the best thing ever.
Tell us who the writer and artist on this title is.
Yes,
Give us
please
maybe
start with that.
slight,
Yeah.
tell us what the book's about slightly, and then what you
Wait,
think.
I don't know why you are giggling maniacally though.
I feel really bad.
Okay. So this is written by Jim Zub, and artist is
X-Men 92.
John Mullin, I guess. Whatever. However you pronounce your name, I apologize. I'm horrible with names.
Speaking
and
of
faces
speaking of New 52,
and everything
by
else.
the way.
Yes. I will get that out of the way. I wish she was not in this book.
Yeah, what's her name? Kobik? What is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got
Kobik?
it exactly right in the first
That
try.
being said, everything else about this book worked for me because all it is somebody went, we want to do a 90s book again. Just flat out
Yeah.
90s.
Yeah.
There's nothing
And-
wrong with that.
I don't know why
I
you
am
were so
all for
maniacal
doing
about this.
one book that is just, we're going to recreate the 90s in one book. I can
It's
get
called
behind
X-Men
that.
92.
No, X-Men 92 is shit. This is like a legitimate 90s book.
Dude, that's exactly right. That is like an actual 90s book. This is like, let's fucking like toast to the 90s and make fun of the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, there are, in X-Men 92, like, on every other page, there's like a joke about how terrible the 90s are. This is an actual 90s book printed in 2016.
That is not trying to say the 90s were terrible or anything like that. It's basically just people who were a big fan of the 90s, especially the 90s X-Force and that kind of stuff. Like every single cover, the art inside the book, the way the story kind of works.
Harsh lines, way too many lines around the crotch just to accentuate the artwork. I'm doing air quotes for the audio listeners.
Like, to me, if that time period in comics appeals to you, this is a good book for you to pick up.
Okay, can I go next?
Yes,
Wait, are you done?
may.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, I totally agree. Higgins just handed this to Charlie like he was handing him the panties of Charlie's sister that he just boned. Like, like
Jesus Christ.
Charlie, do you have a sister?
that escalated quickly.
I do have a sister, actually.
That's the most horribly insulting thing of all time to Charlie's sister because this is the worst comic I have read this year.
Dude,
The worst.
you are fucking crazy. First of all, you read all DC books.
Wait a
second of all, you read the worst X-Men ever. Third of
No, I
all,
didn't. I didn't
you
read that.
read X-Men 92. Fourth of all, you read all of Marvel. Fifth of all,
This is the worst comic I've read all year.
this book is
no
not.
question
Did you
asked.
finish it?
Dude, I
yeah.
am a horrible troll, and I liked this book. I didn't love it, but it is exactly like Charlie said. This scratches your 90s itch. This has like crazy harsh lines in terms of the art, and the
itch,
writing
it's a
is
rash.
absolutely fine. Like, what, you don't like that the loner badass Winter Soldier has a soft spot for Kobik, aka the innocent girl? This is the fucking like 2016 version of Wolverine and any fucking little girl.
So what
Like,
your comment you made earlier, I 100%. I posted this on Twitter, and I'm going to steal my own joke. I said, "How was this comic book published in 2016? The art, yeah, you're right. It looks exactly like 90s art. It is the fucking worst. It looks like a bad Liefeld ripoff. And when you're talking bad Liefeld ripoffs, you're talking the lowest rung in art imaginable.
Dude, I fucking completely disagree. We love to laugh at Rob Liefeld for how bad his
really-
art is traditionally. But at the end of the day, you cannot disagree
This is
that it's
his.
much easier to look at than Frank Quietly or Frank Quietly's fucking bastard cousin that's drawing Nightwatch. And like
I want to see your eyes to see what you see because I mean, there's not a question. Frank Whiteley is one of the greatest artists that has ever lived in comic books. This is among the worst art I've ever seen in a published comic book.
So,
oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god.
so much
What a
of...
fucking hyperbolic statement. Are you
I've
It
seen a
is-
lot worse.
Okay.
In
you
a
kidding
Marvel
me?
or DC published comic,
No,
it
I've
is
seen a lot worse.
among the
I've
worst
seen
I
a
have
lot
ever
worse.
seen.
Yeah. To me, what it comes down to is this. You, as a comic fan, you latch on to certain things and you idolize them. For me, a large part of that idolization comes down to X-Force and Cable and that era of X titles.
Yeah, you're the second biggest
This-
fan on the podcast.
This comic recreates that for me perfectly. So if I want, as Bryce said, to scratch that itch and kind of go, I loved this about the 90s, this comic represents that to me. If you
Exactly.
didn't like those comics of the 90s, this probably isn't going to appeal to you, and that's fine. But
I
guess
can-
what?
I can look at those ones-
comics sold massive amounts.
I know, and I could look at those books at the time and I understand it. This I don't understand because this is so out of its time.
This
it's
is like Will Porchio.
Portacio?
Portacio, like it's like a bad ripoff of him.
It's a bad ripoff of Rob Liefeld, straight up. It's the shitty gun on the cover that's one dimensional and flat and
Okay.
It
It's
is
just in.
I mean, it is
Brock
one-
just agreed with Higgins.
It
Anyway,
is 100%. It's 100% a Liefeld ripoff, and it's bad. And the story, boy,
what the
the story is
fuck?
so bad.
Dude, you're complaining about the Thunderbolt story? It's at least a passable story compared to any of the fucking shit drivel that you read. Not to mention that it's better than half,
Why are you
if not
covering
more
your
than
mic?
half, than the Marvel shit.
Well, he has to muffle
man.
himself a little bit,
What are you
apparently.
I sure, okay, you can like this book all you want. I think this is the worst comic book I've read this year. But by
No, X-Men,
far.
Dude,
X-Men
you
92.
are fucking... You need to get your dick out of the cheese grater. This is the fucking
Ow.
craziest shit that you've ever said. This is
So-
this is
Yeah,
the worst
this is the
book
worst.
that you've read all year?
No question. No
So,
question.
so Bryce, the thing that amuses me about this is he's already acknowledged I couldn't even finish this book, yet he finished this one.
I
yet
had
somehow
to. I had to.
you didn't finish other books that were number one.
So X-Men 92, I didn't even read
By the way,
because
earlier he said that he finished another. What was the other
Hold on.
number one that we were talking about? He said he didn't
Nighthawk?
finish? Nighthawk.
Nighthawk,
He said
I
he
was-
didn't even finish, and then later he was
Nighthawk-
like, "Oh, I finished it."
No. I did not finish Nighthawk. Nighthawk I felt was extremely boring. I didn't like it. I didn't care. I was bored. I put it down and didn't read it. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it, but it didn't make me angry. X-Men 92, I read the first issue of
That made me angry.
the Secret Wars miniseries. I thought it was that was probably the worst book I read last year. Was the X-Men 92 number one from the Secret Wars stuff? So I didn't read this X-Men 92 number one because I was like, "Fuck this book! I know what I'm getting. It's the exact same creative team. I'm not going to read this." So this is the worst book that I have read this year, hands down.
Okay.
There's a good advertisement for Ryan Hess's podcast because one of the characters just says preach.
like this terrible take on the Thunderbolts. Like, I love the Thunderbolts. The Thunderbolts was one of my favorite comics in the 90s. The Cryptusic stuff, all about Fabian Nicieza run. Loved it. The butchering of the Thunderbolts over the past decade, though, has just made me so frustrated. And when I saw, I was like, okay, you're going to have Winter Soldier on the team, and you're going to have kind of like the original Thunderbolts back. I was kind of excited to see where they were going to go with this. This is before the book. This is when the book got announced, and then I saw the cover art, and I said, "Well, that's the Rob Liefeld variant. Okay, fine. They're getting this variant cover. Where's the actual comic? That's the actual cover. This is the comic." And I read it, and I didn't hate it. I was embarrassed by it. It was this is what you made fun of comics in the 90s. The third-rate Rob Liefeld ripoff 3 years later in 1997 when Image is launching some 17th shitty miniseries of the year.
Youngblood.
No, 4 years after Youngblood,
Oh,
when they were
the
going
fake Avengers?
when they were going back to the well for the 12th time
no.
to try to
So did we?
so bad.
So we made fun of them, but did we make fun of them because they were actually shit, or did we make fun of them like we're embarrassed to play
they
Pokemon?
were shit. They were shit, and this is a bad comic book.
Dude, I disagree. I think that Rob Liefeld wouldn't have had a full-time job at DC with the New 52 if like people actually didn't like his art. People fucking love his art.
A very small portion of a very small group of people love his art.
However, ironic it may be. Well, it's one of those.
Yeah. You can love Rob Liefeld all you want. Third-rate Rob Liefeld clone on a really terrible Thunderbolts book. No, I mean, cool. If
Well,
you like
it's
this
better
book,
than your fucking Frank Quietly clone over on Nighthawk. But anyway, dude, you are crazy. If you had told us that, if you had allowed us to do some homework, I'm looking at a wall of shit as I look at your DC wall, and I'm saying, this. Are you kidding me? I'm looking at the whole.
there's not.
I'm looking at a list of books written by Frank fucking Miller, and you're telling me that Thunderbolts by Jim Zub was the worst comic?
Dark Knight 3 is not written by Frank Miller, and it's amazing. So
It's not?
No. It's written by Brian Azzarello.
Brian Azzarello. They just put Frank
thought
Miller's
that
name on it.
I mean, Frank Miller writes it, quote unquote. He's the writer, the largest air quotes that have ever been created by a human being. But no, it's written by Brian Azzarello.
I thought this whole thing was written by Frank Miller.
No.
Oh, Bryce. You poor bastard.
We're all just like, thank God it isn't.
There are many comics that I find boring or dull or not interesting and forgettable. Thunderbolts was a rare, just bad comic. And it's because I hate those comics from the 90s, too.
Two things. First of all, you're wrong. Second of all, can we move on? Because we've spent way too much time on Thunderbolts number 1. Can we agree that Thunderbolts number 1 has taken up way more time than it should have?
It should. Let's move on.
Thank you.
I'm assuming... I know what Brock has to say. Do you have anything different to say?
Spoiler.
Well-
Yeah.
Like Charlie, Ashley really liked Jim Sub.
Yeah.
And this is the first time I read a Jim Sub book where I was lying.
Wait. So other than you guys hating the art and like not
know
liking
you
the
are.
I just
existence of
commented on the
Kobik,
writing, though.
like,
start you.
I don't like the writing in this book.
no.
And this is the first for the Jim
but
Sub
what-
book for me.
Okay,
Because
so
I generally
what about
really
the
like it.
story? Can you guys extrapolate?
I don't like the dialogue.
So you don't
I
like
the story in
Kobik?
it.
Fair.
Remember when
Even though I disagree, but what the fuck? Like,
The dialogue is super cheesy.
Remember when I said there was a lot of, I feel like, imitation books in this pile,
Yeah.
and feels so like one of them.
Yeah, it feels like they're trying to rip off the feeling of X Factor or X Force and New
And
Mutants.
this is one of the books I was actually looking forward to because I actually missed the Thunderbolts in the 90s, even though I always wanted to read it. I just never got around
It's
to
great.
it. And I thought this might be something I could jump in and
Me
read,
too.
but yeah, it's not really what I like anymore.
I've actually
at least.
gotten to issue 2.
It's different.
Is
It's
it any better?
different when I actually read the stuff
No.
in the 90s and grown and loved it, but
I mean,
reading it now is a little hard.
If you put issue 1 and issue 2 together, I think it's okay. But issue 1 by itself and issue 2 by itself, no.
Yeah. Let's move on real quick here. We got 3 more books to cover. Brock, I'll let you take a lead on this one here. I'll do the setup. Oh, yeah, you can take lead on this one.
All right, so we have... I can't even pronounce the fucking name. Ta-Nehisi Coates?
Bryce reads.
What's his name?
What's your rate for-
all
what's your rate-
complain
what's
about
your rate
how,
for the
I'm so
Atlantic?
bad
Right on
with
top.
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
I can never pronounce his name. He's a journalist.
It's Nisi. It's Nisi.
Yeah, I've seen the guy's writing forever. I'm just terrible at names.
Yeah, it's Nisi.
So...
This is a fucking great book.
And Brian Stelfreeze on Black Panther #1.
This is also the #1 book last month. 300,000 copies sold.
For May, yeah. After seeing Civil War, I was kind of inclined to be like, ooh, let me check out Black Panther. It seems interesting. I didn't care for Ultimates, but everyone else was like, oh, Ultimates is awesome, stuff like that. So,
Yep.
hey, I was willing to give it a shot. It didn't really do anything for me. The art didn't... I mean, the art is what it is. I mean, there's a ton of pages where it's like you don't really see any faces, and they're having like deep conversations. So it's really hard to be like, I'm watching shadows talk. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know very much of the history of Black Panther. So coming into this #1, some of it was like,
The book is focused on a lot of the politics of
that too.
Wakanda and sort of him taking back over and his place.
has he ever had control of that country?
Yeah, rarely. Changing up. I found the book in front of me. I forget what they're called. He's like female warrior.
Yeah.
kind of changing them up. There was so much hype behind this book. I thought this book was extraordinarily mediocre. Here's the problem. When you get a author or someone that works in Hollywood, or in this case a journalist that is not a comic book writer, I think they're actually surprised at the flow and pacing of comic books and how it works.
Yeah.
This feels very much like in a novel, a perfectly fine opening. In a comic book, much less so. I feel it is not written the way comic books are traditionally written. I feel it was missing the hook, the grab, the excitement of a first issue, the intrigue. It was very dry. Lots of politics with Black Panther. Interesting setup, but I can't picture too many people coming back for 2s and 3s because I feel like there's no hook in this issue, and that, especially for a new #1, is always really important. Something I think they've done a good job with in Rebirth. And Bryce, I don't know if you caught that. A lot of like big last page shock endings and all those Rebirth books. And this Black Panther was very dry, and that's to me a disappointment because I feel like they had a great chance at a good series, and I feel it kind of fell a little short.
That's fair. I agree with most of what you said. I do feel that this book was exceptionally mediocre compared to the off-the-charts numbers. Where I disagree with you is that where people drop off, I would like to see, and I could be totally wrong, that this author, who I don't know anything about, but apparently he comes with a pedigree that is beyond my understanding, or at least knowledge, that he's going to... Oh, it's at the last page. So this doesn't tell me anything about whether or not people will stay with it. I like to think that this type of writer will attract a certain audience that is not your traditional comic audience. So whether or not people stick around, you won't get the same reaction as you do to a normal comic because this author and his pedigree are attracting different audiences.
He's like an arts culture writer for The Atlantic. So I thought that's what it was. I just want to double check.
Yes, he's actually national correspondent for The Atlantic, where he writes about politics and culture. In 2015, anyway, that's all on the last page. So anyway, I do agree, though. It was good, but was it the number one comic of the month? I mean, those numbers are going to put it in the top 50 of the year, right?
I mean, that's like top 10 of the year.
300K is top 10? Mm-hmm. Holy fuck. Okay, so yeah, it was good. I guess I'm just surprised that it was that good because I read it and yes, it was good. Was it a top 10 of all the comics created in a year? I'm surprised. Was it good? Yes. Was it average? I thought so. Maybe I'm wrong. Where I also kind of have to disagree with Mr. Higgins is that and this is half because the Rebirth issues, they all had that hook. However, the hook I thought, and maybe it was just the sample you happened to give me to read, I was annoyed by how many of the Rebirth issues were like, look at this mysterious big bad that we won't reveal to you. They did it in Detective Comics with the guy behind the army. Mm-hmm. They did it with...
They did it in a couple of them. Yeah.
They did it with was it Superman, who's like replaying all of his problems, where there's the Clark Kent is the third Clark Kent or whatever it was. And I think kind of in Aquaman, where it's Black Manta, but it's like somebody's watching from behind the scenes. I like the hook when... once in a while you have this character that it's like, oh, what's happening? But with that, it was like in 50% of the books that I read, where it was like, oh, this guy that the big bad that we don't know who it is this guy behind the shadows that they'll reveal in 2 months. So that was kind of, not impressive, kind of lame. That doesn't make or break or make worse or better Black Panther. I'm just saying that, I don't require that for me to like a book.
Toby, Charlie.
Out of the bunch in this pile, I enjoyed this a little more than the rest of them. I don't know if I will stick around for it. The dialogue was alright. Story maybe, it's a setup, and I'm curious about the last page of where this is going. But I mean, for me, Black Panther still is the best in my mind.
Yeah, they're reprinting all that stuff now.
Yeah,
which is great.
I'm really looking forward to that, actually. I'm going to start picking all this up. But, the art is pretty decent, and it's not as horrible as the rest of the book, so I enjoyed it. I mean, the dialogue is pretty... I mean, there was some bad dialogue in this pile.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely better than most of that stuff.
Yeah,
So, I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure if I want to keep going. So it's kind of like a medium C, maybe?
Sure.
It's my grade for it. Maybe, no, C.
Charlie?
Black Panther is one of these characters for me that I can really, really like him as a character in other books, but I've never gotten into sort of the political aspects of sort of his own book most of the time. Like, as was already brought up, there's always the whole I'm king, I'm not king, I need a...
It's like how many times can they really revisit
Yeah.
that, right?
And
Every other time.
Yeah.
I find him a lot more interesting when he's interacting with various Avengers or now the Ultimates and that kind of stuff. Like, I like him as a character when he's kind of foiling again. I'm not using the term correctly, but you need that sort of other hero interaction for the character to really appeal to me. Like, I don't know if it's just because obviously I can't really relate to the issues Black Panther faces in his own country, but I don't know. The character doesn't appeal to me on his own.
A little too political.
Maybe.
All right, we're going to move on here. Two books left. Moon Knight #1 by Jeff Lemire. Greg
We're
Smallwood.
not doing Civil #1?
Which one?
We're not doing Civil #1 tonight?
Which one?
Civil War #1?
I have 2 books left,
Oh.
and one of them is Moon Knight #1 by Jeff
Three
Lemire.
books left.
Well, that's number 0. By Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood. So Moon Knight's a character that I never been the biggest fan of, but I've read a good chunk of his work. Big chunk of the character. They're always going to go back to that well of he's insane. Is he insane? Is the stuff he's seeing real? I feel like that works in some books, less in others. I thought the Bendis run was interesting. There were elements of the more recent Warren Ellis run that I thought were interesting. I liked the design. I liked the big, long, nose bit they had on him. But I don't know. I feel like he's this character that gets 6 issues and canceled, and 6 issues and canceled, and 12 issues and canceled. So I'm always reading new Moon Knight #1s, and I'm waiting for one to hook me. I think we finally found one, because I fucking loved this comic. I loved... Jeff Lemire's Marvel output has been a little on the mediocre side, I feel. Some good, some not so good, kind of in the middle. I think this is the best book Jeff Lemire's done for Marvel to date. I
Wow.
really intrigued by the first issue. I actually sat down and read, what are they, up to 3 or 4 now? I think up to 4. I read them all, sat down and read them all in a row. And I absolutely loved it. The whole premise is that he's in an insane asylum, and his whole group of friends are all people from the asylum. All these people that we've known for decades that work with Mark Spector are actually just other people in this insane asylum. Or are they? So, of course, he's being held there. You find out very quickly, that he's being held there against his will by the evil Egyptian gods and everything, and they're preventing him from becoming Moon Knight as they try to take over New York City, and he is trying to fight back as best he can. I loved this book. I can't say enough good things about it. It was really, to me, it was a surprise. The Captain America, I was hoping... I wasn't sure what I was going to think of it, and I liked it. This, to me, is my favorite of the books we read this week. I really like this book.
Jeff Lemire's... again, his Marvel output has been... I really enjoy Old Man Logan.
Yeah, Old Man Logan's been pretty good.
But that creative team is awesome anyway. So.
Yeah, that was probably the best he did, I think, until Moon Knight.
Wait, he's still what? He's still on Old Man Logan, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think his run on Old Man Logan is the best thing he's done for Marvel until Moon Knight. I think Moon Knight's better.
But he's done like a half dozen issues of Old Man Logan and 2 or 3.
I think it's
That's
what are
four,
that?
I think
8 of Old
4?
Man Logan and 4 of Moon Knight.
4 or 5 of Moon Knight.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I have to catch up.
I have no idea what's going on in this book half the time, and I like it. Like he gets into just like how crazy, and he makes you feel like you're Mark Spector in the sense that you don't know what's going on, what is true, what is not true, right, so on and so forth. So I think Lemire does a great job, and Smallwood's art on it really, really works for the book. And just Lemire's writing style that's on this. So I enjoyed this one. This was one of the ones I actually enjoyed in this later batch.
Shockingly, I agree with Higgins. I was sort of when I opened the book, I really liked the Warren Ellis run. I was like, oh man, that was fucking really good. How are they going to do this? Oh, they're going to do more of the same, boring. But they actually, they kind of did and they kind of didn't. The whole crazy ass person was the same. but I feel like there was more of a how do I describe this? I feel like there was more of a story that leads to an ongoing story where Warren Ellis's was all, one-shot adventures of this crazy ass. And to that end, I really loved it. I didn't add it to my pull list, and that was probably a mistake due to budgeting, because Lord knows that I'm getting a fucking bunch of much shittier books. So maybe I'll rectify that here after we terminate the recording. But it was very enjoyable. I guess I'm just not sure at this point in time how much staying power they have. I feel like Warren Ellis got a lot out of his run. I'm not sure how much this type of take on Moon Knight Lemire can get. I think that Old Man Logan is the pièce de résistance. Old Man Logan, I mean, dude, Old Man Logan, I'm looking at the wall, might be okay, let me keep looking. But it might be the best book that Marvel's publishing. And I say Marvel,
Vision.
Vision. Okay. It might be in the top 3 books that Marvel's publishing right now. And of course, I'm nodding. Oh my God! Oh my God! Have you guys read Doctor Strange #9? The Last Days of Magic?
I'm a couple back.
Yeah.
Oh my God! That is incredible! Oh my God! Can we talk about that? Wait, you guys should go first with Moon Knight. But okay, we'll come back to Doctor Strange. But okay, Moon Knight #1. On the Bryce scale, that's a buy for sure. That was very enjoyable. It wasn't like a 110% buy, but it was a solid 100% buy. I would say go get yourself some Moon Knight. It's definitely worth it. If you enjoyed the Warren Ellis run, it's more of the same, but different and possibly more. In that it's in its capacity to possibly lead to like an ongoing, as opposed to Ellis's, which seemed to me to just be sort of a bunch of one-offs. But dude, I want to talk about Doctor Strange. So can you tell us what you felt?
Yes. I am a old school Moon Knight fan, and I missed out on the Warren Ellis one. Just didn't have any interest anymore after.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
This is nothing.
No, it's not like the old school ones.
Yeah.
And also felt there were a lot of failed attempts in the past at Moon Knight, I think. So I kind of lost curiosity on him. I did enjoy this book because in all the old books they always talked about his craziness. I feel like this is like the first real attempt at his craziness, and this book's
questioning his sanity's kind of always been a
it was always there, but this kind of goes right at the heart of it, and this makes me almost wonder if all of his other adventures were just in his head, which is kind of interesting. So I do like the mystery of this book, but yeah. I say B-. B.
All right. Can we talk about Doctor Strange now?
No.
Oh, sorry,
no.
Charlie. Okay, sorry.
Just-
Moon Knight.
you're just so
What did you think of
excited,
Moon
Bryce.
Knight?
Is there a new Doctor Strange #1 that I don't know about?
Dude, no, but just today, and it's because I'm behind because I went to Europe. Oh, I didn't get to talk about Massacre.
What?
What? Massacre.
God damn! I'm so angry. I'm like the totally awesome Hulk. Okay.
You do have his hair already, so you're halfway there.
Well, I'm not Asian, so I'm 0% there.
No,
Half, so you're 50%.
Yeah, you got the hair.
I've liked a lot what they've done with Moon Knight. This feels like a fun new sort of book to me. It's definitely one of those that, for me, I don't necessarily feel the need to keep up with issue to issue, but it's something that's definitely on my radar for sort of like trades and that kind of stuff.
There'll be a nice
Yeah.
hardcover.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, there are books that like encounter the rest of the Marvel universe, and this is not one of them.
And it just kind of feels like if you ingest more issues at once, it would work a little better to me.
That's probably also true. I mean, Vision, another perfect example. You don't need to do those a la carte. You could do those in a trade, and they'd probably, possibly even be better served. Although I like the slow drip of the Vision individual. But I hear what you're saying, and I agree.
So what's the next one, Ryan?
Is it Doctor Strange?
No, we gotta get going.
Oh my God, it's been so good.
Was Charlie even done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlie was there.
We're going to wrap up
Bill-
here. We have one book left.
Are you kidding me? Dude, I have questions from Twitter.
We have we have one book left. We're nearly at 2 hours recording, plus your Bryce Briefly, which was nearly
That
an
doesn't
hour.
count. That's separate for Patreon. By the way, if you're not a Patreon subscriber, you should support all of the handsome gentlemen in this room.
$1 a month. You can listen to this.
$1 a month. What a good
Bryce
deal,
Briefly.
Ryan.
Well, let's talk here about Civil War II, number 1. But of course, we have to talk about Civil War number 0 as well.
We're not talking about the free comic book day issue too.
Well, that's in there too. It's all part of the same thing. So Brian Michael Bendis was it Oliver Coipel? I can't remember the guy's first name.
Oh, God. I just totally did
Oliver
not pay
Coipel.
attention to what you just said.
Civil War II number 1 by Oliver Coipel. Civil War II number 0
I
by
think it's
Bendis
Coipel. Is it
and
Coipel?
Oliver Coipel. Number 1 by Brian Michael Bendis and David Marquez, doing a pretty good Coipel impression, actually. So, we've covered a lot of Marvel events on this podcast through the years. Some have been decent. Most have been not the best.
Can you lean into the microphone more, Brock, when you giggle or wheeze?
I'm not gonna do it.
Okay. Hey, Mitch.
I wish. But we talked 2 hours about this.
Anyway, let Ryan finish.
We've seen, it's the day of the rehash for Marvel here with a lot of these titles, and Bryce, we know how much you love Brian Michael Bendis and his current outputs.
Wait, at
maybe not
this
the
point, I'm
strongest.
actually not sure if you're sarcastic or not.
No, I'm saying there's been a lot of shitty Marvel events. Going back to the Civil War, when the movie comes out, it's built from nowhere. It involves the Inhumans. It's got Bendis, who's I'm fine with him. I know a lot of people are burned out on him. They kill a bunch of characters. They bring in Darkseid. They bring in Thanos for no reason. There's so much wrong with this book, and yet, this book is great. I think this is probably the best Marvel event book I've read so far. It hasn't ended yet. We're only
Issue 3 comes out tomorrow.
5 issues in. I really like this so far. Really, I think this is better than Civil War 1. I think I think there's no setup to it, right? It just starts with this. Everything, I thought this book was going to be fucking awful. I really did. The hype was not there for this. The fans were not interested in it. We do pre-sales on it. There's definitely some interest in it. But fan interest in this book was 0 when it came out. Just nationwide. Nobody cared about this. It sold well, obviously. It's a big Marvel event. It's going to sell well. But
So it's like BVS. So no wonder you liked it.
But man, this was a tough sell. And I think nobody was going to care about this book. And just everything around it, who cares? I'm so over this. But I'm going to read it. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I read 2, and I really enjoyed 2
Okay,
as
take
well.
your dick out of my ass. Give me the comic book. Let me review this thing.
So it's a cool setup. I hate the Inhumans, but I like the setup in this book of Marvel kind of going to war with the Inhumans. And in a rare case, I actually I get the fight. When it comes to Cap and Iron Man, I don't actually I never believe that in Civil War. The whole idea seems kind of ridiculous. Both the movie and the original comic, right? The events set up would not cause the events that occur as a reaction. It felt like these characters were never written the way they're supposed to. We're not written properly. But Bendis knows Marvel. Bendis is a Marvel guy. I feel like this is actually pretty legitimately a written the way these events would work out. You have an Inhuman named Ulysses that can see the future, and so they're saying, do we use him to stop crime before it happens, to stop events before it happens, or
It's the Minority Report of Marvel.
Sure, but it kind of takes a little bit of a turn from there. I haven't read 3 yet, which comes out this week, so I don't. There's big stuff that happens in an issue, but where do we go from here? But the setup of it, between the death of a couple characters, which I won't spoil in case you want to read it. I was very, very, very pleased with it. Bryce, you seem to have stuff you want to say. Let's.
But in between you and me is Brock,
Brock,
who
yeah, sure, if you want to talk about it.
98% agrees with you. So let's
No,
have
I don't
him.
think he
No,
does.
I think this is shit.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
Like Toby
Wow.
said, it's the Minority Report of Marvel, and
We will agree that if Brock's
It-
not agreeing with you, then he's shitting on Marvel, and that's 100%.
yeah. But I felt that the deaths in here were whatever. I didn't care. Like the setup, reading, issue 0 to
Okay.
1
Let me take
just
that off
didn't.
your hands because I can.
You
give
kind of do have to read the Free Comic Day and 0
yeah, and
going into 1. I mean,
and-
they are very important.
And the thing for
I
me is
disagree with that,
is-
and I also disagree that people care about your negative review. So I will say that I am. I almost feel like Ryan is this like Riddler level mastermind of like playing mind games with me about like
I legitimately really liked it.
because if you guys listen to the beginning of this of his intro, it was like setting himself up for like shitting a brick on Civil War, and what you won't hear. Well, until right now, when I'm going to tell you, is that I was actually right there with him. My interest in this book, like, I've been down on Bendis for a while now. Well, it all goes back to Uncanny X-Men 700. Let me tell you about that book. Said nobody. Because
600.
Well, whatever. It could be either one. I don't care.
600? 700? 600?
600.
I don't care what he writes to. It was the last Century issue that he wrote, and it was the worst thing in my life. So, anyway, so he is
It's the Thunderbolts of Bryce's reading list.
on Ryan's scale, not Bryce's scale. Bryce was good with Thunderbolts. Bryce was fine with Thunderbolts. He appreciated it for what it was. Anyway, yeah, Bryce. Should he keep going on talking about himself in the third person? He shall. Let's do this. This will be exciting.
Just what do you think of the book?
So, Bryce does.
Let Brock tell you and then tell us.
Okay, I'm tired of the third person. So I didn't like I hate the Inhumans shoehorning into the Marvel universe, but I do agree, and I hate it when I do this, but I do agree with Higgins about how, so okay,
We're almost done, Charlie. I'm right there with you.
sorry. I agree and disagree with Higgins. I disagree with him about, he says that he's not able to see the disagreement between Iron Man and Captain America. I can totally see the disagreement with the two of them. However, I do agree with him that this is a much more real disagreement with the Inhumans. I kind of like how they set up the Inhumans as their own autonomous nation in, which is, the irony is not lost on me that I'm being an idiot. They set them up as their own sovereign nation in their backyard, and then they expect them. I mean, Iron Man fucking going in stealth mode to kidnap one of them, and then he's just like, oh yeah, no, they'll be okay with it, or this won't have repercussions or consequences. Like, that's fucking bullshit. But okay, it doesn't matter. The Minority Report, I think that it's actually greater than Minority Report, although it shares a lot.
Because it has superheroes in it?
No, it has superheroes in it, but Minority Report was so black and white, whereas this has a third dimension, probably because of superheroes. I can't disagree with that, but I don't know, man. I just got the sense that that all the sides were fleshed out much more intelligently than was the case in the movie Minority Report. Although I don't disagree that it was similar in theory. I'm very excited to see how it goes. I think that it's a much more real story in terms of it. When Higgins told me, he's like, "Welcome back from Europe, Bryce." Oh, this. By the way,
Is that how I talk?
this isn't his voice at all. This is the voice that I'm putting in my head for Higgins when I got back from Europe. Uncanny Inhumans. You're still ordering that, huh? Well, Uncanny Inhumans number 11. Karnak's kicking over Stark Tower. That's a $40 book.
Yeah, it is.
All right. Oh, Mosaic. Good for you, Bryce. Way to order your trash Marvel. And that's not at all
What am I, a biker or something? Like,
You wish. That was Ryan Higgins, Ron Perlman from Sons of Anarchy, by the way. Like, he wishes, I wish. Anyway. By the way, that was a fucking great series until the finale. But I have Twitter questions, so we gotta hurry. So, anyway,
we
look.
had to hurry for
Toby,
like an hour
Charlie.
and a half.
No. So the story was. So what do you want me to say? The story was really good. What,
You
was
agree
it
with Higgins? You liked it, Toby.
But again, I feel like a broken record. My expectations were actually kind of low for it, and it ended up being very solid, if not good.
Mine were
and
very
that
low.
made it even better. So. Sorry, not sorry. Love it. Marvel forever. Marvel for life. Make mine Marvel.
Yeah, mine were very low, but no, I really enjoyed it. Toby.
Out of the bunch, I didn't think I was going to care, but after reading it, it's probably my favorite of the bunch. So it's good. It's an event book because it's actually good for once.
Yeah.
I love the art. I love the pacing. I love the characters. Even though I'm very mad they killed one of my favorites or possibly killed one of my favorites.
Spoilers.
But, they don't know who my favorite is, or one of them.
They kill Night Thrasher.
Now, Thursday's actually back
They
alive.
They kill Nightwing.
I would just
interesting.
I would just quit the podcast at that point.
Oh, this isn't Forever Evil number 7. Oh, they killed Gambit. Oh, they don't write X-Men books anymore.
I was very mad when he was a horseman, though.
Oh, I loved that.
Should we show Bryce the Marvel now? Oh, no, you already saw the checklist.
Yeah.
Yeah, what the...
Anyways, I really dug
We'll
it.
talk about that next week.
Charles.
So I'm going to pull a Bryce here for a moment. Let me tell you a story.
I love Bryce stories, which
Yes.
make him as a surprise.
Okay. So your typical superhero story when it comes to superheroes fighting superheroes, you spend a lot of time going, why the fuck do they not just have a conversation?
Yeah. I really hope you
a
don't
group
end up
This-
disagreeing with me because I agree
This
with you.
book is unfolding the way it realistically would. A lot
Yes!
of conversations, a lot of build up.
It's Bendis, so of course there's a lot of
Well,
conversation.
no, but it's like even going back to the original Civil War, it literally started with you have to choose a side. This is the new status quo. We're not going to talk and try and work it out. It's
Yeah, that was fucking
no,
bullshit.
you have to go straight to fighting each other.
Yeah.
I'm really appreciating how many issues in, and I have actually already read the one that comes out tomorrow now. How many issues in, and they haven't really reached that point. There is a lot of talking about the ramifications of everything going on. And it's not that it's light on the action. It's just the action tends to be where you would think it should be. It's heroes fighting villains and that kind of stuff. Or in terms of what you're talking about of Tony Stark going in all stealth, but he wasn't doing it with like malicious intent. He was doing it to get more information. He wasn't going it to the Inhumans and being like, I'm taking him by force and you can't stop me.
Would we say that?
Would you say that he wasn't there to...
I mean, he literally went in there without anyone's permission and kidnapped this fucker and then left.
Yes, so he could run the tests he felt he needed to run, and he
but
didn't
that's
exactly.
literally kidnapping.
Yes, but when they showed up on his doorstep, it didn't turn into some big all-out war. You can't have him back.
Yeah, but that's because he didn't go to his home. I mean, dude, you agree with me, so I love you. So keep going. But
the reality is,
but it was kidnapping.
I don't
know how.
I am not saying that it wasn't kidnapping, but what I'm saying is I don't consider him having malicious intent with that kidnapping.
So it was kidnapping in the second degree.
Wow, we're going to get all legal here. This will be fun.
I don't know, dude. Keep going.
No, but
You're on a roll.
it's one of those things where this event plays out as it feels like it should. And like people kept pointing to Civil War in the real world, like, well, wouldn't you want them to be this, or wouldn't you want? And the thing is I completely understand if you put this in the real world, you might fall on a different side than you do in terms of reading the comic. But for me, the reality is things don't change like that overnight in reality. It doesn't become instantly everybody has to start fighting and choose sides without hearing all the proper points of view.
Like, I do feel like Civil War 1 had a really good premise.
Yeah.
It just wasn't executed the best way.
This is very much around they set up the premise of what if you had to make these kind of hard choices? And they're doing a very good job of sort of creating the little divide about, I feel choices should be made this way, I feel they should be made this way, and the idea of, based on the choices you make, there is a level of accountability. And I like the way that's going. I like the way the story's unfolding. I like the fact that we don't have the line in the sand yet. There's still room to talk.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for me, too.
And because of that, it doesn't feel like it's rehashing Civil War. Like, I almost wish it wasn't called Civil War.
Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Because-
Yeah. I agree.
totally
I
agree with that.
I agree.
Because
But we
There's
can,
no war yet.
yeah.
well, we can both agree though that they only did that for sales.
Yeah, but could you imagine, say this was sort of led up to
Marvel,
as sort of
Minority
a...
Report.
But
Marvel report.
given the way that they're unfolding this, I almost wish they had done some sort of like under-the-radar build-up event. Like, you could still have it as an event book, but I kind of wished you had a mini event leading to the quote-unquote Civil War event.
Dude, I 100% agree. And by the way, Pleasant Hill was like the worst example of it. Like, they actually could have had exactly what you're talking about. They could have had like a mini event specifically dedicated to this, and it wouldn't have been hard.
No.
But they had this totally non sequitur event that they insisted it was the precursor to Civil War. And it was like, what? It made... Anyway, keep going.
No, but I mean, if you had taken these first 3 issues going on to 4th issue, and you could have gotten so much buzz going into Civil War issue 1 after, like, I would have done it differently. Let's put it that way. But that being said, this is slow on, like, yes, you kind of get dropped into the middle of it, as Ryan says, but it's actually unfolding slowly. You understand why you got dropped into the middle of it. They did a good job of explaining why
Yeah,
that
it's a
came out
slow
of nowhere.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the slow, proper build-up to the confrontation.
It is crazy that the Zero issue, which is 99% not the case, you needed to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Free Comic Day issue, too. The Free Comic Day issue was super important. It's,
Wait. Only one of those two I feel was... Which was the one where it actually showed Thanos' battle?
the Free Comic Day one.
So what was the Zero issue one?
The Zero was all the stuff with I don't have the issue in front of me.
Isn't
You
that
guys got
when
it.
he got, like, cocooned or whatnot?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one with the Terrigen Mist, where that's where
Yeah.
Ulysses comes from and everything. Yeah, and the humans get him.
So-
and pretty important
To
to the
set
main
up for
story.
Rhodey to become president.
Unlike Higgins, I actually like Zero issues when they are... You shit on especially Marvel Zero issues every chance you get.
Well,
What are you
if they're
talking
bad
about?
or pointless, I will. But
Right. No, but you do it like all the time as if they're all pointless and stupid.
No.
Which, by the way, you're not all like, I would say most of the time, I don't know. They are frequently unnecessary. However flavorful, you always shit on them. And you shit on them in everything. I don't think that I heard you shit on them for this one, but you shit on Zero issues all the time.
if they're pointless, I will, of course.
My point
but
is
this one wasn't bad.
My point is what they always do is they provide a context of the background of the story that you're going to read, and you shit on them anyway, and I still think that they're good. What? Dude, what? You do.
When was the last time there was a Zero issue that I even read?
I guess for
What was
me,
the last fucking
I,
Marvel event?
What was the last Zero issue?
I
What was the
feel-
last Marvel event?
I feel in general,
Wars?
a lot
the
of times...
fucking rebirth
Yeah.
of series issues.
I guarantee you that if I were to have the fucking time or care...
Was there a Zero issue to Secret Wars?
Of course there was!
Was there?
don't think there was a Zero. I think we kept talking about...
ladies
I
and
think-
gentlemen.
I think we kept talking about how issue 1 felt like it should be issue 0.
Issue 1 felt like a Zero issue because it didn't start the story. That's right.
Oh, keep the trolling going.
Anyway, are we done? Are we done?
No. Okay, if you guys are all done...
We have no time for Twitter questions or anything.
Okay,
Do you have
can
one?
I do quick
You have
Twitter
one?
questions? Because I told people that I would answer their
Okay, real quick.
Okay, Casey, who never tweets us. That was an air wink for those of you that didn't see the podcast video. Are you concerned with how Fox will handle X-Men in the future, and how many of the cast are feeling comic movie fatigue? Spoiler alert, all 5 of us are not feeling comic movie fatigue, Casey. We all love
they
comic
axed
movies.
They axed all those X-Men Fox shows, and there's just going to be an X-Men show.
Okay, well, I didn't.
That was news
I
today.
didn't know that. That's kind of not necessarily what he was asking, but even if he was, I will say I am very concerned. I think that Fox will fuck it up big time. Mr. Marco Lazik, it might be just be Lazik, or it might be LASIK. Is Age of Apocalypse the greatest X over, he means crossover, that's a typo, of all time, or is it the greatest X over, he means crossover?
X-over is how you shorthand crossover.
Am I not allowed to be funny in my own mind?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, is Age of Apocalypse the greatest crossover of all time, or is it the greatest crossover of all time? Marco, let me just tell you that it is the greatest crossover of all time. And Ryan Higgins is literally writing notes right now to
Yep.
quiet me down.
Yep. Don't want to blow up people's eardrums.
Which I don't blame him for, because it deserves it, because it was that good. It is literally the greatest story ever told. Anyway, Killing Him Softly.
Age of Apocalypse.
Hey,
the Bible.
this wasn't even to me. Oh! Dude, I have to answer the Hope question. I actually know the answer. Hey, Ryan Higgins, question for the cast. Can Charlie or Bryce... Hey, Killing Him Softly, why the fuck was Charlie listed before me? Explain to us what happened to Hope. Hashtag where is Hope?
Oh yeah, they asked me this last week, but you weren't here, and I
Yeah.
forgot to ask Charlie. Yeah. What's up with Hope?
Dude, why are you tagging Charlie before me? I'm kind of insulted. By the way, Charlie doesn't know where Hope is. I actually do know. Let me tell you guys a story. Let me tell you a story.
Okay. Let's get comfortable. All
In
right,
about
go ahead.
the year of, what is not BCE was before Christ. What is the current CE? Is it just CE? What is current day? Anyway, about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, this douchebag named Simon Spurrier wrote this little-known comic, and by the way, little-selling comic book. In fact, so little-selling that it was canceled. A comic called X-Force, Cable and X-Force. So, Cable and X-Force was this terrible comic that involved a character named Meme. Literally, you know those jokes that you see everywhere with pictures with text at the bottom of them that are called memes? Yeah. Simon Spurrier reintroduced a character called Meme. So, this character called Meme, this electronic character, was introduced into this story and became a character and member of the team of Cable's X-Force. Hope, around issue, whatever the fuck, number 6, was put into a coma and was comatose the rest of the season. What Hope did, as those of you that are diehard Hope fans, because you're big Cable fans, which makes me and you, and not Charlie, a member of, is that Hope's powers involve the ability to copy other mutants' powers. So, this terrible meme character in this even worse Simon Spurrier comic book was... Oh, Higgins just leaned towards the microphone, but...
No.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
gonna-
He's trying to catch a Pokemon.
Wow.
I'm just waiting for you to get to something I didn't already know.
Oh, okay. Well,
Because you're correct. I don't know where Hope is now, so I'm curious if you do.
I'm giving our audience the backstory, so thanks for being an asshole. I'm not done, but thank you very much. But what if I want to keep... Okay. Anyway, so Hope is in a coma. Meme, or Mimi, we still don't know, because the second M was capitalized, and Simon Spurrier probably doesn't speak English. But in any capacity, you know, they're like, well, you know what is going on. Hope copies Meme. I'm going to call her Meme. I don't know if it's Mimi. Who the fuck cares or knows? Simon Spurrier is the worst. So Hope copies Meme's powers, which is the ability to act as a digital agent for the team, downloading shit from the internet. Basically like a poor man's Oracle, okay? So she's like, you know, I really miss Cable. Cable, he's my fucking dad. He's awesome. I had foster parents that were like, do you guys... Do you guys remember Jubilee's parents in the X-Men animated series? When they were just the biggest, flyover state white,
You know, when she was like melting VCRs and all that fun stuff.
The good old days.
Yeah.
So anyway, Hope was basically in that family. And she's like, you know what? I really miss Cable. I want to get back to Cable. He's my dad. So she uses her mutant powers to copy other mutants' powers to become, basically, to become Meme or Mimi. What is this troll doing right here? Anyway, so what is able to happen now that she's able to become Meme or copy Meme's powers or whatever is to be able to be close to Cable. So Cable is running X-Force and the terrible superior mutants.
And he doesn't know that that's
because
Hope.
he thinks that it's Meme, because Meme's just a digital
And
character.
she doesn't want him to know that it's her.
Yes. Are you remembering or just agreeing with me?
No, I remember up to there. I just don't know.
Okay.
I never finished that series. I could not handle it
I don't
shortly
blame
after
you.
that.
And
Basically, when
I
they
like
got
Cable
to the
more than
weird
you.
fucking Cable clones because Cable was dying.
You didn't even get to the worst. Did you get to the Phantom X part? The one when he became all megalomaniac?
No.
Oh my
no, I
god!
didn't.
Oh my god! I almost don't even want to tell you to save your soul. So anyway, at the end of the series, I won't even go to the Phantom X part because it just devolves into drivel. But it gets just as bad when. What are you doing?
Huh? I'm catching Pokemon. I gotta make sure. I gotta take some cool, sweet ass pictures.
God, Higgins is the worst, and he distracts me, and I have ADD and a bad memory. What are you doing? There's no Pokemon over there.
Yeah, I know. I'm
So
trying to get a
what
better shot.
happened to Hope?
Okay, so this is anticlimactic, but Volga, like the whole team, like gets knocked out by Volga, right? Yes. So that's a half nod from Charlie, who's like not sure whether or not to agree with me. After that, Phantom X goes crazy and wants to be this fucking. Like, he wants to be Wolverine, basically. And it's just the worst spew you're writing. Oh, it's like, talk about... He puts the spew in Superior. Is that even... Can I say that? Is that even a thing?
You can say it, but just keep going.
Okay, basically, it's X-Force against Volga, and then it's X-Force against Phantom X, because Phantom X wants to prove that he's the best. So, by the way... This whole time, Hope is in a coma.
I understand that. I'm still waiting for you to tell me if she's still in a coma, if she died, or what the fuck happened.
Sorry to be anticlimactic. I didn't know that that's what you were waiting for. So Hope is still in a coma. Okay? She is still Meme. Okay? At the end of the Phantom X storyline, where Phantom X is like, I'm so sorry for being such an emo bastard. I was written by this Scottish fucking prick that doesn't know how to write. Cable's like, all right, that's too much for me. I'm at it. Because she says, like, hey, just to let you know, I'm not actually Meme. I'm actually Hope. Cable's like, what the fuck? This is crazy. I'm from Scotland. Just kidding. I just wanted to do that.
Cable with a Scottish accent's the greatest thing ever.
Dude, you guys should hear my wife try to do pirate. Whenever I reference Pirates of the Caribbean or Zelda or the TV show Black Sails, she tries to do a pirate accent, and she ends up sounding like a leprechaun.
Do you watch Black Sails?
No, I wish I did.
Oh, it's so good.
Dude, I have a fucking bone to pick. Hey, can anybody still listening? You guys might not be listening still. Can anybody still listening tell me what the fuck I have to gain from continuing to watch The 100? Because I asked Tobias about The 100, and he was like, oh, he pulled a full Ryan Higgins against Ryan Scott, and he was like, you just have to get to the first season. And I'm just like, okay, that's only fucking 20 hours of my life that I quote-unquote only have to give up because the second season's so much better. Like,
Okay, so Hope told Cable that she was Hope.
okay, so no. But she's still yes. But she's still Meme
Yes.
when she says
Yes.
when she confronts Cable. And she says, okay, hey, spoiler alert, bruh. Didn't mean to, don't want to rain on your parade before we all die because that might happen. Just, no big deal. MBD, I'm actually Hope. And Cable's like, what the fuck are you? Are you fucking? Are you? Oh, sorry. Are you kidding me, lass? This is bollocks. You're busting my balls here. This doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. I'm from the future. We're gonna have memes there.
Okay, so what Patreon level do we have to hit for Bryce to
start reading every
do
X-Men book ever?
everything in a Scottish accent for the entire podcast?
Dude, also, by the way, I'm the biggest asshole ever if Spurrier is like Irish or English and not Scottish. But I do think that he's... Anyway, it doesn't matter. He's the worst. So anyway, so Meme, a.k.a. Hope in a Coma, like outs herself to Cable, and Cable literally dips on the team when the book ends. So, like, even though it's the
So
worst
what you're saying
ending,
is you don't know what happened to Hope or
No.
where she is now.
I mean, that's not a fair fucking thing to say. Like, that is what happens. Like, just because it's a bad ending doesn't mean that I don't know.
But what-
She's in a fucking coma, and the book ended. What do you want from me?
But we don't know if she's still in a coma 2 years later or whatever we're at now.
By the way, it's only 8 months later, and why
Is
would you
it?
fucking put that on me? When did that terrible Spurrier X-Force run end? 8 months ago.
X-Force? At least a year ago.
At least 8 months ago.
I mean, it ended before Secret Wars, didn't it?
Dude, I don't know. My point is, you can be assholes. All I'm saying is that all anybody knows, including you and me, and especially me, is that Hope is still in a coma when the Spurrier book ended, and we haven't heard from her since.
So I love how I actually could have answered it the same way with the last I saw she was in a coma pretending to be Meme. And
Well-
apparently I didn't really miss much in...
Ladies and gentlemen, if
X-amount
you've
of issues
stayed
after that.
listening to the podcast this long, you will see a rare circumstance in which Charlie's an asshole. Because you don't ever see that. Because he is, in fact, not an asshole. But you will see it about 10 seconds ago.
And that's okay. I also waited 20 minutes just to get confirmation I knew what happened with Hope.
Okay, that might be the case, Chuckles McGee, but at the same time, you wouldn't have gotten my Scottish impersonation, and
Okay,
a lot of
you
the
have me there. The Scottish impersonation was worth it.
Thank you.
Also, no. Also, wait. I'm
Thank you,
almost done.
everyone, for
No, I
listening.
didn't get to all the questions.
It's all right. Thank you, everyone. We have next episode or a couple episodes.
Oh,
from
how
now
excited are
when
you
you're
about Nova? Quick answer. That's one of the questions. How excited are you about Nova?
back. Yeah, I'm going to see the creative team, but hopeful.
Okay. How Gross is Hillary Clinton is another one. That's by James Carroll. No, that's by Hiram Martinez, who you like. How Gross is Hillary Clinton?
Not at all. I don't know. What's that mean?
I'm just going through them really quickly. What is this? This is by Toby. This is during the podcast. What the fuck?
We have to thank all our great friends that back us on Patreon here. We're going to go ahead and wrap up. But thank you, everyone. And thank you, Bryce, for all your energy in every episode. Albert Soy, our good friend, Albert Soy. He's got an app called Plant Everywhere. Make sure you check that out. It's on iTunes.
By the way, there's a lot of people that didn't know the story about Hope that maybe Charlie did that wanted to know. And by a lot of people, I mean a couple people.
And they'll know. They'll
And
find
now
out
they
soon.
know, and Charlie's smartass response wouldn't have answered them if he said, "Oh, at last I remembered." Yeah, Charlie. A lot of people wanted to know the history of this
If
terrible
you didn't
story.
have fun starting off your story with, I can answer this and Charlie can't, and then get to the exact
Well,
same
I
answer
didn't-
I would have given.
Okay, take it easy, Wes. I didn't know that everybody knew, like, where you were.
Well, that's okay. I remember us both ranting about Hope in the coma and the crappy
Yep.
Cable clones and all that.
Yeah, I just okay.
Yes.
Not everybody's necessarily caught
No.
up.
But
Albert
that
Soy.
does still beg the question of where is Hope now?
Albert
She's
Soy.
in a coma, dude.
Albert
Maybe.
Soy.
What do you mean maybe? There's literally been no canon that says otherwise.
Or killing Ryan.
So we have to thank all our great friends on Patreon here. Our good friend Albert Soy. He's got an app called Plant Everywhere. That's on iTunes. Make sure you check it out. Ryan
the
has
Hope Conspiracy.
Ryan has the Preach podcast.
Spin-off podcast.
I'm just gonna to make this a little easier here. There we go. SoundCloud.com/Preach Podcast. That's where you can go find Ryan Hess's podcast. Jody Lawson is canon to Triad Comics Anthology at TriadComicStudio.com. John Nesmith has Drinking with Batman at drinkingwithbatman.libsyn.com. That's podcast. Check that out. Peter X. Blanco helps work on the Nerd It Up YouTube channel, youtube.com/NerdItUpTV. Julian Titus has the Nerds Without Pants podcast at pixelbit.com. Joshua Writing also has a podcast called Tangent Break. Check that out, as well as novels on Amazon, Twilight of Ages and Dawn of Darkness. A couple of our other good friends, Manoa Place, Sam Shea, Talon Bray, and Peter Parker. All great people to back us on Patreon at the high levels. That's patreon.com/Comic Conspiracy. For a little as $1 a month, you can hear so much Bryce ranting. So much. If you give us $1 a month, you can also not listen to Bryce rant and just give us $1 a month so you don't hear it on the podcast. We'll do that too. No, the Bryceless episode. ComicConspiracyPodcast.com, Geekbox.net, and iTunes is where you can find this podcast. Rate and review us on iTunes, please. Thank you very much. The Comic Conspiracy at Geekbox.net or the contact form at Geekbox.net. You can send us some emails on there. We're all on Twitter. Ryan Higgins, Ryan, Brock Sager, Larson Bryce, Toby XI, Insanity and Chaos, Comics Con Store. We use that from when we're answering our Twitter stuff a lot. Digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. That's where you can go buy your digital comics. Don't forget to subscribe to your favorites. Get them automatically every month. ConspiratorBrock.com. That's Brock's blog and video pull list. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. That's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. Etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That's my wonderful wife, Leanne. That is her Etsy store. Buy some artwork from here on there. Geekbox, Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, All Talk Podcast, and Monka Machinations. Those are the other podcasts on the network. Give them a listen. We'll catch you guys next week.